Welcome to the Hop Edition podcast, brought to you in association with The Malt Miller, your go-to choice for premium homebrewing ingredients and equipment. Whether you're a beginner starting out or an experienced brewer, The Malt Miller has got you covered. So for top quality products and customer service, jump over to themaltmiller.co.uk and tell them the Hop Edition sent you. We would also like to thank all our Patreons for their continued support with running and developing the pod. If you would like to become a member and gain access to exclusive perks and benefits, head over to patreon.com/the Hop Edition. Now it's time to get this pod started, so crack open a homebrew and enjoy the episode.
Hey, remember that guy, Tricky?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's missing tonight.
Where is he? Where's Tricky?
Where's Tricky?
Apparently he's at a bar with an Argentinian steakhouse out back.
Shocking.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, terrible.
Anyway, Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. It's episode 107, and tonight we thought, it's the start of the new year, let's do a Q&A and look at the look ahead for our brewing for this year. So, yes, we've got some Q&A. Basically, we've got all our questions. We put it out to the Patreons, and we're going to have a kind of look ahead at some of the guests maybe we're going to have in the pod as well. So, first thing, I want to say a big, huge thanks to our partner sponsor, the Malt Miller, who is the premier supplier of all things homebrew. Swing by their website to go check out a great range in stock, and while you're there, check out the Hop Edition recipe section. You'll find a huge range of beers from us and other previous podcast guests. Now, guys, if you want to say hello and what we're all drinking tonight.
Hello.
Word.
Word. Everyone's super excited.
Catch you on the flip side.
Yeah.
We're all
am.
for drinking alcohol.
To be fair, I've been rough as hell for the last 2.5 weeks, so I'm easing myself back into it. So yeah, in fact, go on, Owen, while I have a bit of a cough.
You do sound a lot better than you did on Wednesday.
Well,
But then, to be fair,
that
didn't stop you smashing a few beers Wednesday.
It did not, mate. Weirdly enough, I woke up Thursday morning feeling much better.
No. Not that we would advocate the use of alcohol to, get over a cold. But sometimes it does work. Sometimes, though, you can end up with a hangover and a cold.
This is true.
So it's a risk reward.
Absolutely.
Sarah got me a watch, one of these fancy watches, right? And it tracks your heartbeats and everything. And see, whenever I have a drink, you can see your heart rate is elevated and your body stress goes up as well through the night. And that's why generally you don't have the greatest of sleeps, I believe, when you've been on a wee sesh.
It's all the carbs as well, right?
Yeah.
Try to process all the
It'd be
alcohol.
interesting, to check that. Immediately thinking scientifically. If you just drunk whiskey with less carbs.
And it's like, I was thinking about this, it's like, see how when they distill and they take out all the different, compound, all the different types of alcohols, because they distill it and they throw away the heads and tails, don't they? Well, in beer, if you're drinking the same amount of beer, you're drinking all of that stuff, aren't you? So is it cleaner? Because when I drink whiskey, I just end up waking with a huge migraine. But then that's maybe because I'm drinking it straight rather than...
Well, there is a small thing that you're all overlooking.
Yeah.
And that is a carbohydrate is anything with carbon, hydrogen and oxygen in it. And ethanol is C2CH5OH. So it's got lots of carbon, lots of hydrogen and lots of oxygen in it already. So
it's what, energy?
You're just drinking carbs.
You're drinking a lot less of it.
No, you're drinking the same amount. If it's 40% by volume compared to 5% by volume, you have to work out what the actual volume of it is. Volume-wise, total volume, you are drinking less because you're not drinking as much water and all the other stuff, but Alcohol-wise, you're probably drinking pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Shucks. You just have to put up with your body stress all night. And
Suck it up, Andy. Get on with it, you pansy.
suck it up.
Yeah.
We all know what it's about. Anyway, where was I?
What we drinking?
Welcome to 2025. It's good to be
Yep.
here, chaps. And I'm drinking a lager, and it's a real lager, a proper lager. It is a Meltzen, which I've actually brewed for a competition, and it's a little bit different in the fact that I double decocted, however you might use.
Is this getting posted on Monday, Owen?
Say again.
Is it getting posted on Monday?
You know what? No, because it's for the national, not the Scottish.
Are you entering the Scottish?
I haven't, no. But,
Right, okay.
So it's the national and Lager Than Life. I'm intending to enter it. I've brewed a double batch, so there's plenty to go around, and there will be some coming out to people in beer mail. So I've got a very long list of people that I owe beer mail to.
Not us.
But it's a 6%er, so it's a proper festival Meltzen.
Oh, wow.
It's cleared up pretty nice. It's probably only been in the keg for 3 or 4 weeks. It took an age to ferment because I fermented it at 10 degrees.
Oh, you did the method I said,
I think it was 10 degrees, or it might be 9.
I think it was 9, and then you upped it to 10 later because it was taking so long.
9, and it was like still chugging along at like 3 weeks later, so I ended up having to bump it up just to kind of move it along.
What yeast was it?
It was hopping pills.
Hopping pills, yeah. I find that actually does need a wee bit warmer. The 10 sort of gets it going along.
The head's a bit lacking, which is a shame. But I think that's to do with the glass I've got, maybe the pour. But it's smelling like just honey on
caramel
brown bread.
Is it any caramel? No,
caramel.
No, it's that honey. Yeah, the kind of toasty brown bread sort of.
And the honey's kind of emphasised by that sort of slight meadow flavour that you get from the noble German hops.
What did you go? Hersbrucker or Tettnang?
What did I use?
You should have prepped.
I think I went. I didn't prep this at all. I think I went SARS and Hersbrucker.
Yeah. My favourite at the minute's Tettnang.
Let's have a look.
Just
spicy boy.
It was
spicy.
SARS. Yeah, SARS and Hersbrucker.
SARS will bring spice as well.
Yeah, so it's SARS at 60 minutes and Hersbrucker at 30 minutes. But it's tasting absolutely banging. That was WLP 820 or hopping pills. I'm pretty sure it's the same yeast strain. Very pleased with it. Although decoction definitely adds a lot of time and a lot of mess and a lot of effing and jeffing. Especially when you don't have a suitably sized pot and you're trying to use 2 separate pots, because of course I went double batch, because the logic there was the fact that the minimum size I can do in the B80 is a single batch, right? And if I'm pulling out, I think it was like a certain amount of the mash, it would risk exposing the elements. So I was like, right, well, I've got to go double size. So I was pulling out like 19 litres of mash or something. Something at 17
because is it the third of the...
Yeah.
Is it third of the grist or something you pull it?
It was wild. I can't remember.
I ended up, when I did it for the Czech Pils, and I ended up just filling the pot that I had, and it was less than the third, but I just thought, I'm going to get some sort of caramelisation and flavour pull over, and then I just used the craft beer pie to then take it to the next sort of mash step, just to nudge it up a little bit more that it was missing.
That's what I ended up doing as well. Really weird.
Yeah.
And I was chatting to Chris whilst I was doing it. I didn't get the temperature changes I was expecting when I returned the boiled.
I wonder if it's because of
mash.
that the B80, because it's
Yeah.
all open, and it really does rely on that element controlling the temp. Whereas you're
think it
losing so
does.
much heat
Yeah,
on that thing
yeah.
all the time.
Because you've got the liquid separate to the grain. There's a whole bunch of liquid around the side and at the bottom. There's a lot of weird things going on. But the fact that I could control the temperature easily and just step it up, was like I just returned
So
it.
you're still getting the
realised it only went
caramelization.
up like 1 degree, and then I just took the temperature up with the elements anyway. But I think if I'm going to do it again, which I'm intending to, for a black Czech lager, I am going to just do a single concoction. I think
There's a wee future hint.
Yeah, I'm just going to do a normal mash, and then I'll pull it, boil it, and then chuck it back in for the mash out. And I think that will be sufficient.
Yeah.
So, it's tasting good, and I'll send you some.
Okay.
That's the only thing I care about right now. Send me some. Let's go.
Yeah. My only criticism, I would say, is it's probably 1 or 2 IBUs too high on the bitterness.
Oh. Well,
it's got a kick, has it?
Then it's not a kick, it's just a
how fresh is it though?
A little bit too... Still quite fresh. I think
I wouldn't worry about that.
But there's just a little bit of bitterness sort of in the back end. That sort
Sounds
of
like it's going to
carries it
age
through,
beautifully.
which hopefully will calm down, and then I think it will be absolutely A1.
I think the malt miller did a video around Christmas time or just before Christmas about brew like these sort of styles, and then they actually ended up their top tip at the end of it was actually just to bump the IBUs up a little bit so that when it ages, it's bang on sort of thing. So I think you'll be alright on.
That's what you want, isn't it? It'll be cool. Pull your mic in a bit closer to you, Owen. Everybody's complaining about your volume a bit, mate. Right. I'm drinking the end of my Pomona keg. I've not really drunk anything over Christmas because I've not been very well. It's still tasting absolutely amazing. I've got no problems with that particular beer at all. So yeah, if you want to know what it's like, if you want all the deep, dark and dirty tasting notes, go and listen to the Pomona episode, because yeah, we're 15 minutes into this. I'd still give it, a decent score. Andy, crack on.
Sweet. So Chris, the absolute legend he is, sent me some Christmas presents, and one of them was from Burnt Mill. It's called Overdrift. It's a Citra Nelson Cashmere Fog Pale. That's the can there. I think it was mainly because I was actually struggling a wee bit with drinking, and we were wondering if it's a gluten intolerance. So Chris was like, right, let's try Burnt Mill, see if that kind of cures it, sort of thing as well. And you sent me
I was like, chill your fucking tartan jockey shorts, mate. I got your ass covered. It's all good.
Exactly. So, and you also sent me was it Clarity Firm? So,
yeah, man.
Yeah, so I'm going to try that this year. That's a wee teaser into the future. But yeah, this beer is absolute. It's that sort of nectarine, sweaty mango, juicy thing going on, and it's got that little, just making my mouth water and just wants to go in for more. It's quite a orangey sort of colour. It's quite bright there actually on the video, but to me it's a little bit darker than that.
Looks lovely.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. So no, really enjoying that. It's good. But yeah, it's a 4.6, and yeah, banger. Nice wee starter beer for the night.
Nice. Hopefully, I've quietened down a little bit there, Thomas. Yeah, I discovered that my microphone volume on my PC was set to 21.
Right.
And I've since bumped it up to 80, and now I haven't twiddled with the knob on my little external box, so I was twiddling with my knob.
All right. No, it sounds good.
Yeah, twiddling.
I think we're all there. I think we're
good.
golden on the levels.
We're all looking awesome as well today. Have you noticed how we've all got amazing camera shots now? Yeah.
Yeah. Was it the white balance? I think we were talking about
white balance.
They were asking me how I get it so nice and warm looking, and basically I fiddle with the white balance to get a kind of nice sepia warmish glow, and so the boys kind of tried the same.
I swear to God, I must have ADHD, because every time somebody says something, a song title pops into my head, or a song lyric. She went sepia tone, I went sepia tone loving. Anyway, go on.
And then he was singing Baby Shark just before that.
I was not singing Baby Shark. I don't know the name of the song, but I was singing a different song.
I was like, oh, stop.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Q&A.
Right then, shall we jump straight into this?
Yeah,
Should
why
we do
not?
the first one? Oh, wait there. Ron's asked a question. How many of you treat your beers for gluten? I do.
I have. In the past, I don't tend to. I can't find the little bottle of weird stuff I use.
I'll tell you why I do it. Because it makes my arse smell less.
That's
Seriously, it
gotta be a
stops my farts from stinking quite. I mean, they could still tranquilize a rhino.
See all the
this-
stuff you send us? Is that all gluten free?
Yeah.
Oh man, right, okay. Your beers have been banging.
Yeah, I've been using it for fucking hell about 2 years now. Literally, I had the first time I went to LCBF, I had a conversation with Joe from Malt Miller, and we were. Was it the first time, or was it BrewCon? It might have been BrewCon actually. I was having a conversation with her, and I'd started using it because I'd been brewing beers for someone else who's gluten intolerant, so I wanted to reduce it as much as possible. Then just started using it on mine, and it's just, I don't know, it's like it doesn't affect the flavour, it doesn't affect the head retention, doesn't affect anything like that, and it just seems to stop my ass from wanting to kill everyone the following day.
That's all I know.
Yeah, it is a bit of
That's
a bonus. I'm not saying it'll work like that for you, but that's how it works for me. But I've got IBS, so what can you do?
Yep. No, that's good. And how do you use it, Chris? Quick question. See, is it when it goes into the fermenter?
I use MBS Clarity, so whatever the Malt Miller version is, and I think it's 0.5 ml for 23 litres.
And do you dose it when it goes into the fermenter?
I dose it as I pitch the yeast.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Right, yeah.
Yeah, and it works beautifully. I love it, absolutely love it.
Cool.
So yeah, it's really good. Doesn't really knacker up your beer at all. I was concerned that it was going to reduce the head or whatever, but it really doesn't. It really works well. Yeah. It's a good one. So let's jump into these questions. We've got quite a few to get through tonight, and I've got a feeling there's going to be some conversation after some of them. So, question number 1 is from our Mad Barnsley fan, Mr. Ian Benfell. Can you explain the correct way of saying thiol-releasing and why? Alex on our last pod said it's not a thiol-releasing yeast. Can you explain what the correct term is and how it works, please? If only we had a top scientist to help us laymen. If only we did. If only we had an actual scientist.
Only we actually had Alex on the pod.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Let's get Alex back on.
Why didn't we?
I don't know.
There's a spare seat.
There's always a spare seat, yeah. So essentially it's pronounced thiol. It's a sulfur compound, which is literally a sulfur bonded to a hydrogen. It's called a functional group. So it sits on the end of something as a SH, all right, if you understand your chemistry. The term thiolized refers to engineered yeast strains that have the ability to biotransform the thiol precursors found in malt hops and some grape-derived products into free thiols, which are flavour compounds that you can smell and taste. The yeast strains which are thiolizing allow the release of the thiol compounds, which can impart a significant flavour difference during the fermentation process. Now, what Alex was referring to was they don't create thiols. They only release the thiols that are already there. Now, spoiler alert, I have a brew planned for later in the year, probably around about May time.
Okay.
which is going to utilize a thiol-releasing yeast, Saaz and Cascade hops, and it's also going to use Phantasm.
Are you going to take up that offer, Chris?
I am going to take up that offer.
Are you?
I am essentially going to see whether or not I can produce a truly thiol beer, like a beer with a lot of thiols that have been released, and it's probably going to be shit, but I'm going to do it anyway, because if you're not going to do it turned up to 11, why are you even here? So that's what I'm planning on doing later on in the year, is I'm planning on really releasing all the thiols that I can, and truly seeing what these thiol releasing yeast will do. Thiolizing is a bit of a misnomer. They only release what's there, or some of what's there. They can't truly release all of what's there. But yeah, that's basically what I want to see if I can do, is use the Phantasm, use a thiol releasing yeast, use some Saaz, because apparently there's loads of thiols with Saaz, and also utilize Cascade, which apparently I've read somewhere has a lot of thiol releasing yeast in it as well.
And it's just generally a great hop, Cascade. To
It,
be honest,
it
it's one
is,
of those ones that we used to use,
yeah,
and not anymore, sort of thing. So
yeah. I want a true grapefruit bomb, is what I want. So we'll see. And based on what Owen said about was it the last episode or the one before, where you were talking about the Moot grain bill?
Oh yeah,
And it being a phenomenal grain bill for a hazy beer, that's what I'm going for.
Yeah, I've used it a few times, Chris. So this is actually the Kappa grain
you've
bill.
used it.
Yeah, I've used
Oh
it
wow,
probably twice, maybe. I used it for my Pomona beer.
right?
So you have
Your
tried it
Pomona beer
already.
was amazing. Yeah.
And I also made another beer, but I forgot to put the oats in. Whoops. No wonder I undershot the numbers. Didn't work out so afterwards. I was like, oh. You know, when you're just like weighing out grain with a 6-year-old, shit happens.
Yes, it
My
does.
daughter is just obsessed with just eating barley every time we weigh out grain.
Just feed her some Vienna, mate.
Yeah, I ended up just giving her a bowl of Warminster floor malted Pilsner malt, I think.
So you're giving her the expensive stuff.
Yeah.
I always find that quite.
It's only a handful, right? But it
Pilsner
just saves her
malt's
like
not the
eating out
best,
of
though,
my
is it?
actual bucket of grain that I'm weighing out, because she's just literally just, all
The
you can eat.
Munich or the, like Chris says, the Vienna's like it's got
The Vienna's the boy.
caramelization
Or
to it.
Munich 10. Munich 10's not
I
bad.
like Munich.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. So yeah, anything to add to that explanation, gents?
Nope.
No, I think well, unless you mentioned it, obviously, like there's a, if you listen back to the Christmas special with Alex, she was talking a lot about the differences between the thiolizing yeast we have in the UK versus what they have in America, and effectively the difference being a genetically modified product versus a non-genetically modified product. So the UK do not allow import or production of GMO yeasts. So have you mentioned this already? Was I not listening?
No, this is that.
I don't know.
But this is why I was like, oh, Chris, you taking that offer up?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. We're not too clear on how strict the rules are on import, but you certainly can't buy US GMO thiolizing yeasts. But according
Not
to
that
Alex,
offer. A different offer.
a different offer.
Right, okay.
But according to Alex, there is a significant difference in the performance of the GMO versus non-GMO. So whilst we're in the UK, we're going to continue to use yeasts that do kind of quite sort of naturally produce a lot of thiolization. Is that even a word?
Yeah.
It is now.
It is now. I think everyone understood the context there.
Yep. Cool.
Nice. In
That's the next
Benfield,
one.
hopefully we've answered your question adequately.
Yeah, so
Thanks for asking.
it's thiol-releasing, as in thiol functional group. There you go.
Right. So the next question comes from our good friend Jeff Bishop, and he has a main question around the difference of flavour when changes in pH. So the question is, will a beer produce a different flavour at 5.2 than 5.6 pH? And I think the answer is you can probably find out for yourself, Jeff. Right? So if you've got a well-calibrated, decent pH meter, pull a pint or a few third pints of a beer off your tap or out of bottle, take your acid and start to create some samples, one perhaps at 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, and find out for yourself. So you can do an experiment and kind of discover how it will change the perception of the beer.
Yep.
Is a short one. I'll hand over to you guys to talk a bit more about beyond that.
Okay, so I did try that. I tried that exact method on, and what I found was it would I think the lower the pH, the more kind of crispy, juicy sort of like it kind of came across, and you know how like when it's the kind of, I don't know, up at the 5.6 rather than the 5.2, the 5.6 maybe suits something more like a kind of hazy sort of, where you just kind of like, yeah, it's kind of almost slightly more, I would say, flabby, but just that sort of
Rounded.
thing. Rounded, yeah. Whereas a 5.2, it would bring it more kind of, almost feel more West Coast, where it's very much more palate cleansing. That sort of kind of dry your
Crispy,
mouth.
snappy.
Yeah. So if you want your beer to be more snappy, then lowering the pH would probably actually help from 5.6 to 5.2.
So I think there's some style factors in here as well, isn't there? So certain styles will suit a lower range, certain styles will suit a higher range. I think we've talked a bit about this in the past. You know, a maltier beer may suit a higher pH, more like 5.5, 5.6, and perhaps like I don't know, maybe a West Coast, hoppy West Coast would suit a lower pH.
Yeah.
It really depends on what you're trying to present in the beer. So once you've understood the concepts, I think it's another factor at which you can manipulate the flavour profile of the outcome you're looking for.
Yeah, totally. And this is something that in episode 3 of the Science series, which is currently very much in its infancy, I will be covering once we've done fermentation and we're on to the bottling and the serving of the beer. Essentially, the pH in a mash, as you carry it through to the final pH level, it will have an impact. So the lower your mash pH, depending on your malts and everything, that will affect your outcome pH as you get more towards the outcome.
Dry hopping, Chris. Dry hopping. The more dry hops you add to the...
Please don't, because that was 6 hours of research and my brain still hurts from doing it.
But that will impact the pH as well. The final
It totally
pH.
does.
This
It
is
totally
why
does.
professional brewers will they track the pH throughout the entire process.
Yeah, totally. So pH affects the way we perceive the final beer's flavour. Low pH values in a finished product tend to be associated with characteristics like sharp and dry and bitter, and tends to accentuate all of those characteristics. A slightly higher final pH value will give you soapy. A really high pH will give you metallic. Okay? And like you were saying, flabby, soft.
Yeah.
That tends to be a higher pH. Crisp, dry, bitter tends to be a lower pH, like Owen was saying with the Westies. but it can also affect many other processes during the brewing itself, which in themselves, in those processes, can affect the final flavour. Enzymic mash activity, yeast metabolism, yeast fermentation rate, final gravity, shelf stability can also be affected, haze stability can be affected. These are all things that your pH will affect. But if you're looking purely at the flavour, just add some acid.
Yeah.
Grab yourself a bottle of phosphoric. Don't do lactic. Don't do that to yourself.
Why?
Because it's horrible shit.
No, it's not. It's better
Grab-
than phosphoric.
Yeah, fucked. Get yourself a bottle of phosphoric and just add a drop at a time. Give it a gentle stir with the handle of a spoon. Taste it. See what the difference is. Add another drop or two. Give it a stir. Taste it. See where you end up. And at the point where you're happy with the beer style, you can then measure the pH and see where you're at. Because everybody's individual palate is going to react differently to the final pH of a beer. Like, I don't particularly like West Coast beers because I don't particularly like super bitter beers. They're not my thing. I also think piney beers can fuck off and get in the sea. But aside from that, everybody's interpretation is going to be different. So you have to try these things out. It might be, Jeff, that your palate likes a Pilsner at 5.3. It might be that your palate likes a red IPA at 5.5. It's all to do with what you want. So give it a few drops, see where you end up, take it from there. It really is a try before you buy kind of process, this one. Because I know that my palate is different to Andy's palate, definitely. And I know that it's totally different to Owen's because, you know, I've drunk his beers, he's drunk my beers. It's all... Everybody's got a different thing. Everybody's got a different sweet spot, and that's what you're aiming for with your beers. Is your sweet spot.
Cool thing as a homebrewer, isn't it?
I think my advice just to homebrewers, right, is don't just follow it must be 5.25 or 5.2.
Don't do
every
that to yourself.
time, right?
Yeah,
Start to think
5.4.
about it as a variable. And as I said, now we've unpackaged that, right, then it should help you to understand how to utilize that variable. Because it's a really useful one, right? It's a really fundamental one. But really avid homebrewers, I'm sure there are guys out there that do actually track their pH throughout the process from start to finish.
Yeah.
Not something I've ever done. Maybe something I am going to think about doing.
Need a reliable pH meter.
You do.
Be prepared to spend some money, boys.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the bits probably always put me off is the lack of consistency in the measurement. But I think, as Andy mentioned, pro brewers will be very interested in what the final pH of the beer is, because that's the ultimate outcome, isn't it? That's how the beer is going to present.
That's consistency as well for them.
Yeah.
And they'll start to see if things have went wrong or something straight away.
So big dry hops are going to change the pH. Using like yeast is going to change the pH.
Yeah.
Certain yeasts are going to change the pH to varying degrees, so on and so forth. But a good rule of thumb that everyone, good brewers should be following is adjust your mash pH, and broadly speaking, that's going to direct the final outcome as a broad stroke, right?
Definitely. That is a big thing, and it comes down to everything that we've always said since we started this podcast is monitor your beer, right? 15 minutes spent measuring the pH of a beer whilst it's in the fermenter. 5 minutes spent monitoring the same pH when you transferred it into the keg. All of these things are going to make a difference to your final beer. And the more you know, the more you can tweak, the more you can get it towards your particular flavour profile. And that's an important thing. So, yeah, There we go.
Cool.
Andy, you're up.
What? Next question.
Let's do it.
So another one. Is this another one from Ian? Is Ian getting? He is. Another question from Ian Benfell. He says, could you break down the advantages of Whirlpool at 80 degrees C and 72 degrees C? What flavours, oily things are pulled out of the hops at different temps? I now dump my Whirlpool in at 77 degrees and drop to 72 degrees C to get the whole temp range. Is this of benefit? And then what's it? There is another point. Time of Whirlpool impact ? 20 minutes against 30 or 40 minutes. Benefit ratio award. And then dry hop duration. God, how many questions try to squeeze in here?
I think there's 5 in this one.
Yeah. Some say no more than 3 days at terminal gravity. Now, Alex suggested adding with the yeast pitch. Would that affect the length of the hops in solution? I have a BGCP comment saying the hops were in too long. They are in for 5 days. Lol.
I think a lot of this comes down to personal preference again, doesn't it?
I think it also depends on the hops themselves, right?
Yep.
Like each hop will be different how they react. Because the whole different temp thing, I read that basically the hotter it is, then the more kind of citrusy thing you get, and then the problem with that is more bitterness.
Yep.
And then the lower the temp is, you can get more woody floral sort of notes from the hops. But again, this study was probably with, one hop.
Yep.
And each other, all the other hops could bring different things. But the other thing you can do is you can add hops. You don't have to dump all of them in at 80 degrees. You could actually split it up. So you do a little bit at 80, and as it starts to cool down, or 85, 80, 75, and then you're all good sort of thing. It then gets a little bit of each. So yeah.
Again, after reading, is it the New Hop Bible or something? Whatever his name is, that dude.
The new IPA.
That's the fella.
Scott Yanish.
After reading Scott's book,
That's it.
one of the things that I found was certain hops respond to whirlpooling at different temperatures. Now, he doesn't say this explicitly.
Yeah.
But this is something I've inferred from reading that book a few times.
Yeah.
My personal preference is to whirlpool for 20 or 30 minutes at 65 degrees.
You're super low.
So I go low on mine because I don't want the bitterness. But by whirlpooling for a longer period of time, I theoretically get more oil extraction. And you've done this, Andy, when you did the Citra, the C-Bomb clone.
So C-Bomb was a 60-minute whirlpool.
But it was 60 minutes at 80 degrees, wasn't it?
85, Chris.
85.
But it's almost like this is how the commercial brewers are obviously getting so much flavour in their beers, because their contact time in the Whirlpool is huge. We spoke to Hoddy about it.
But they're transferring.
Exactly.
They're transferring from their kettle after they have done the whirlpool. So they whirlpool for a period of time and then they transfer after.
So
and if their transfer takes another 45 minutes, there's another 45 minutes of contact time.
Exactly. But the carryover with that is you get tons of bitterness. So what you need to do is you basically, and see if you put it in the calculators in Brewfather or whatever it is. What was it?
Beersmith.
Beersmith, yeah. It was. It wouldn't calculate. It would be like, oh no, the bitterness is still super low, and then you would get that beer, and you'd be like, wow, that is bitter. So you actually have to cut all those. Your hot side additions. If you're going to do hot side additions, then keep it very minimal, or put it super late in the boil. I would say when you're doing such a big sort of whirlpool addition. I think C-Bomb doesn't even call for any hops in the hot side.
No, it doesn't.
It's all in the whirlpool, and it is a bitter beer, But it's just it's so juicy, juicy, but it's packed with flavour.
I have to admit, one of the things that I've been thinking about, because I have my nipple recipe that I use a lot of.
Yes.
Right, Vienna, Pilsner, Carapils, and then I'll throw a shitload of hops into the Whirlpool.
Oh, your Whirlpool's huge, I'm pretty sure.
Normally about 150 grams, it's pretty big. But what I have thought about doing recently is dumping in a portion of the hops at 65 and whirlpooling. Dumping them in at 75. Setting the temperature on craft beer pie to 65.
Yep.
And just spinning it until it drops to 65, and then dumping the rest in. Yeah. Spinning for another 10 minutes, then transferring off. My transfer takes about 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes.
It's got to be quick.
Right? So I don't have the worry that pro brewers have. Like Final Gravity Brewing, I can't remember his name, I'm really, really sorry. But he says transfer takes 30 minutes, so it gives you around an hour of contact time. I don't have that problem. I've got 4 minutes from the moment I turn my pump on until it's in the fermenter. I don't have that issue.
Because Hoddy, when he did his first commercial brew, he told us he had to dump it because it was too bitter. And it was the contact time and the big kit was the big problem.
Yeah. So you have to take all these things into consideration. Now, one of the things that I'm also willing to try is I'm willing to try starting at 80 and just allowing natural temperature drop to take it down to 60.
Wow, that's a lot, though. I think that would take a very long time, would it not?
No.
Not at this time of year, but...
Not at this time of year. Normally, yeah, absolutely it would. But at this time of year, no, not so much.
No.
So what I'm thinking is I'm going to split my dry hop into 3 separate chunks. And I'm going to throw one in at 80, one in at 70, one in at 60, give it 5 minutes, give it a bit of a swirl around, then turn everything off, allow it to settle for 5 minutes, then pump it out. That's what I think I'm going to do.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, brew days now went from 5 hours to 6 hours.
No, that'll only add
to 5 hours or something,
With the twin chiller, mate, that'll add maybe fucking 5 minutes to the brew day.
Oh, but see that hour long, that's an extra hour in the Whirlpool. See when you brew a lager and it's like you just do the 60-minute and the 30 or 20
that's
minute,
nice.
And then it's just like, wow, that was a quick...
Crash, boom, done. Let's go.
Not of your own and you're doing a double decoction brew day. And it's...
Yeah, that's on the list as well.
I normally, just to throw my penny in here, I normally reduce mine down to about 70 and then throw in the Whirlpool edition, and then just let it spin.
The coldest I've done.
Just let it reduce down. But right. I actually found a good article online from Scott Yanis. She was talking about survivables on hot side hop flavour, which includes the Whirlpool debate. I guess that is hot side. Right, but I think the key piece to understand is it's still not an enormously researched area. I think that there is some research around, and maybe more research has been done since this article was written. But he has referenced the fact that a Japanese company identified that late hopping or whirlpooling at 85 degrees retained slightly more measured linalool compared to late hopping at 95 or 75.
So more citrus flavours.
Yeah, which is what I was saying.
And also Gerenol. What was it?
Gerenol,
yeah. So those were the two monoterpene alcohols. So I think different temperatures are going to target different flavour profiles subject to the hop, so it gets very complicated very quickly.
So by stepping that temperature down, you can extract more from a hop.
Yeah, you could in theory, right? So maybe a good technique might be throw in 85, but quite quickly reduce that temperature down, so at least you maybe have a few minutes at 85 to 80. You are going to get some bitterness addition, obviously, because you're going to have isomerized alpha acids going on there, but it's not going to be significant.
Oh, it'll be quite significant.
I know.
Well, it depends on the style you're going for, right?
Yeah.
If you go for like a very soft, fruity, minimal bitterness NEPA, then yeah, it could be significant. But if you're only at 85 degrees for 2 or 3 minutes, how many IBUs is that going to be?
I think, see, if it's 6%, then you're not going to feel, that probably won't impact. But then
ABV is going to have an effect. If it's 2.4,
what ABV?
As they say, there are no solutions, only compromises. Right.
There are no solutions, only questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So in reality, if you're looking for that really citrusy, monoterpene alcohols such as linalool, research suggests 85 is the right range to be at, but the payoff is you might pick up some bitterness.
Cool. And then the next bit was dry hop duration.
Yeah, this is a difficult topic to talk about.
Sometimes I like putting it on the hops for a bit longer, actually, because I don't know, because you've also got your crash cooling time as well. So you maybe have it at 3 or 4 days at whatever, 14 degrees or 18, and then you could end up cold crashing and it'll be on it for about, a week and a bit, sort of 2 weeks.
I think...
Oh, Chris, 3 months.
3 months.
Or 3 months at 1 degree.
Yeah, I've done 3 months at 1 degree before. I do it regularly, to be fair.
That's basically a keg hop, right?
Yeah, essentially.
I've done that in the past.
Was there anything wrong with it?
No.
Exactly.
You guys all drank them.
Yeah, exactly.
Way back when, I used to have those like metal mesh cylinders.
A bomb.
And, a little bomb, and you used to be able to just fill them up with hops and chuck them in the keg.
Yeah.
And that actually worked really well.
That'll give you a massive amount of flavour. I think the main thing that we're missing as homebrewers is a specific whirlpooling vessel. Because they have whirlpools and hopbacks and all sorts of stuff that they use in pro breweries. And that really, if all you're doing is literally whirlpooling beer through it, they did. Just to point this one out, there's very few people who get this comment that I'm about to make, but you have to use them the right fucking way round. That's all I'll say. There's very few people who'll understand that comment, but those that know it, they'll understand it.
Well,
you have to use them the right fucking way round.
If you don't, I'm sure someone who there is.
Yeah, don't. Just leave that one alone. Just leave it alone. So one thing that I will say is extended whirlpool times can bring a much more intense hop flavour.
Yeah.
Okay? Andy's proved this with his C-Bomb clone. However, beware the bitterness, people. Beware the bitterness, okay? If you try a 60-minute whirlpool, I don't know who's written these notes, I think it was Andy.
Yeah.
I recommend no to very little late hops. So nothing added at 5 minutes if you're going to be doing this. Yeah. You will pull a shitload of severe bitterness through, okay? So be careful with that. Also, remember your salt addition. It's very important.
Sodium chloride.
So one thing that it does say...
Sodium chloride, Chris, means not just water salts in general.
No, I'm literally talking table salt, all right? Sodium chloride. Yeah. Try to get like one that doesn't have an anti-caking agent in it either.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we have to take into account here is the lower the whirlpool in temperature, the more preservation of volatile hop oils you're going to have. However, and this is an important one, it's spelt ER mark. The different hop oils have a different boiling point. So you might see a different character with whirlpooling at a lower temperature than what you will whirlpooling at a higher temperature. So again, it's a variable. Treat it like a lever. Okay, you can pull this lever, you can't pull this lever. You can tweak it a little bit, you can pull it full way, you can pull it down slowly. Everything is an ability to change your beer. Okay, so remember, you might start off at 85 with Cascade or Citra or whatever. You might only add your Idaho 7 at 70. You might only add your, I don't know, your fucking Mosaic at 72. All of this it's a lever. It's a cheap lever as well. Very cheap lever. Just pull it in the right way and tweak your beer the way that you want to tweak it.
And you're only really going to get that through experimentation, right? There is no research that's going to go Mosaic's best whirlpooled at 71.2 degrees. Because no one's done that research, right?
Nobody's done that research.
It's really up to you. Maybe just talk to other brewers, see what their experience has been.
Yeah.
I think we started talking about the other questions you had about dry hop duration and
2 days.
Temperature. I think it's probably pretty similar sort of story to what we in principle as we've been talking about around the whirlpool. Is just again experimentation. You're going to be pulling out different characteristics from the hop. I've read some research that suggests that you get the majority of the oils that you're looking for like within hours, actually. But there are other people that would swear by a 5-day dry hop. Right, there'll be people that swear at 12 degrees and others that say 19. Again, there's probably some research out there.
Probably.
But it's not going to be...
It's going to be very nuanced.
It's probably going to be like, we tested it with Cascade. Or we tested it with just a single hop. And in only a few scenarios. So it's a pretty unresearched area, I think. And again, I think that's just really down to experimentation. What we've generally found, or generally what I will do... drop the beer down to 14 degrees, somewhere between kind of 12 and 16. It's probably pretty
14.
good. 14. And then add the dry hop, leave it for 2 to 3 days. Typically 2, then cold crash down to 0. That will be your extra day. So typically it'll actually be 3 days. And then go from there.
One thing that I will say about cold crash and dry hops is I have found, personally, almost zero extraction at anything below about 5 degrees.
That's why you could leave it on.
Virtually zero. And because the temperature's so low, you also get very little yeast autolysis either. So, not that that's an issue for me anymore, because I have a shiny fermenter that I can drop shit out the bottom of. But my point still stands. You need to make sure that everything that you're planning on doing when it comes to looking at dry hop times, dry hop temperatures, can you leave it on the yeast cake with the dry hops time, all that sort of stuff. A lot of this depends on personal experience, personal sort of, research is essentially the word I'm looking for.
Chris,
you have to be able to research these things. Go on.
Are you gonna just on the back of what you said with the new fermenter? Are you gonna start dumping your hops, do you reckon, in your yeast?
I will for certain beers, which are really, really, really heavily. I mean, there have been. I mean, how can I say this without pissing a lot of people off? There are a lot of beers that I do where I have a 300-gram dry hop.
You do?
I do. And I might have 150, maybe 180 in the Whirlpool. Right?
Yeah.
So I want to be able to just open a lever and stick a bucket in the way and pull, 2 or 3 litres of trub and yeast off. Just because I want to see what it does. But also I want to be able to see whether or not it has the effect that I think it's going to have on, that green flavour that you get from hops?
Mm-hmm.
When you dry hop a bit too big, and you're like, this is going to take a couple of weeks to calm the fuck down before I can drink it. I want to see whether or not, as soon as I hit cold crash, as soon as I'm at 1 degree, if I go bop and just pull all that trub and all that yeast matter off into a bucket, whether or not that's going to reduce that green flavour, that hot burny flavour. Because I have a feeling that hot burny flavour comes from the green vegetal matter within the actual hops being sat in the beer for too long. Personal, it's my personal sort of opinion on this one, but I think that's something I'm willing to
test.
I'm willing to test and willing to research. Yeah.
Nice.
Sweet.
I did have one thought just about something you sent, Chris, about pro breweries having separate Whirlpool tanks and the impact that whirlpooling, like within a kettle where there's a lot of coagulated proteins and all sorts of other things, how much of the hop oils are getting attached onto something that ultimately is just going to get left in the kettle. It's probably not something that homebrewers are probably prepared to do, which is take your runoff, let your beer settle, run off the nice kind of bright beer, and then whirlpool. Thoughts on that concept?
Wow.
That would require an extra vessel. And I'll be honest with you.
But more my prior concept about the proteins and stuff potentially impacting.
I have thought about this.
Wow.
And the only reason that I'm not willing to go down and try that one is because those proteins, with the fact that they're sticky, they aid the clarity of the final beer so much. I'm just not willing to do that. Like, I will whirlpool in my kettle, and then I will turn the pump off and I will allow it to settle to get a cone in the middle.
Yeah, it's to stop the transfer of the Whirlpool hops into.
Hang on, Andy, because it gets better. The reason why, when I get to the bottom of the kettle, I'm still willing to pull it towards me a few degrees to get that extra litre or two is because I honestly, truthfully believe that having a little bit of that trub, a little bit of that that cold break in my fermenter is beneficial to the health of my yeast.
It is. There was an experiment that was done years ago.
There was. And I lean on that experiment quite a lot.
And they basically tossed in all the kettle trub nonsense into the fermenter, and the clearer beer was the one with all.
It was so much clearer.
Yeah. Was that Brewlosophy that did that?
I can't remember if it was Brewlosophy or who it was, but all I will say is I have found that if I only transfer off the clear wort from the kettle, I get much worse clarity in the final beer.
Yeah, there is something to that. Yeah.
There's definitely something to that. Now, I understand that you don't want to transfer 100% of it, but there have been brews where I have transferred 100% of it, and I have ended up with a clearer beer at the end. And I think it comes down to charged protein particles within the trub literally binding to all the shite that comes out of your beer. But here's the thing. Does that have an effect on the dry hop? Because I honestly believe that it does.
I think when you think about, a lot of pro breweries will drop the yeast before they dry hop, won't they? Because the view is that the yeast can interfere with the hop to beer interaction, which is probably true, because especially when you use pellets, they kind of dissolve, and what I've noticed is they just merge into the sludge of yeast and cold break, and you end up just with this cone of.
You can't clear it. Sometimes
But do you notice how it stratifies?
It does stratify, yeah. I've noticed that as well, and I tend to like try and rouse it, which I think contributes then to better hop extraction. But then if you're looking for like a clear beer, I'm not sure that necessarily helps. It sort of adds a bit of time, but
I would be willing to try this with something like a hazy beer, but I'm not going to be willing to try taking 0 trub through if I'm doing a lager. Because I want that clarity at the end.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Guys, try it. Give it a go. See what happens. Because ultimately it's going to cost you maybe £8.
Nice. I reckon we need to move on because we've probably been debating this one question now for 25 minutes.
We have, but it's been worth it. Can we do a commercial?
Well, I've just cracked a beer. Can we hold off the commercial for another question?
Go on then.
Right, there was a question that came up, and let's answer it quickly from Liam. When we were talking about the importing of GMO filialized yeasts. And he asked the question about, well, if you go over to the US, is there anything stopping you just bringing them back in your suitcase? Difficult question to answer.
Yes, there is.
I think there probably are some rules about taking yeast on a plane to another country. Whether they know whether it's GMO or non-GMO, I doubt they would know. So yeah, I would probably say, whilst you probably get away with it, I don't necessarily think it's as a home brewer. Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's probably a wise idea, and we definitely wouldn't advocate it on the podcast.
Absolutely, we would not, because it would be massively illegal.
There we go. Chris has been clear on that one. So
and I know that you're from Lancashire, but it's massively illegal. Don't do it.
Chris has been very crisp on the subject.
Crisp.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, segueing from our discussion on pH. So there's another question from Liam, an actual formal submitted question, and he says, I don't think it's been mentioned before, and I never really looked into it, but how is brew house efficiency calculated? I know what I will get out of my brews roughly, but not sure how to calculate efficiency, and if I'm hitting the same efficiency every time.
You don't. Do you? You never hit the same brew house efficiency because it depends on what you're brewing.
It depends on air pressure.
pH. Air pressure, does it, Chris?
Yep, absolutely it does. Air pressure affects it.
What the fuck? Right, okay. Explain.
Okay, so air pressure will increase the amount of pressure within the kettle. It might only be 0.002%, but that will affect the it will affect the pressure within the kettle. Therefore, it will affect reaction rates. Vary with temperature and pressure. One of them pushes them one way. One of them something else will push them the other way. Yeah, it will also affect your boil off rate. Yeah. Everything will affect your it will affect your perceived brew house efficiency. It's only a tiny amount, but it will affect it. And this is the wonderful thing, right?
I mean, wow. You
guys have no fucking idea how sensitive some reactions can be to a 1% change in pressure. Well, like the Harbour process. Go and Google it. It's how people make ammonia, all right? The Harbour process is done under pressure for a reason, because otherwise you end up with a much lower yield. Reducing the amount of air pressure, changing from a really fat, wide boil kettle, right, to a thin, tall boil kettle will affect the pressure within the vessel. And all of that will affect your final brewhouse outcome. It's a weird thing, but it's what it is. It might only be 1 or 2%, but 1 or 2% matters in brewing.
Alright, but if you're Tennant's Brewery and you're brewing...
They don't give a shit.
No, they do it like the tank pressure.
Yeah, exactly. So you can actually work it out. There's an equation to be able to do it. And at the bottom, I can't remember the actual numbers. I did research this at one point, but it was something ridiculous like 2 bar of pressure, so like 30 psi at the bottom of a fermenter, based on the height of it. It was crazy. It was stupid. That will have an effect on which side of the equilibrium line the reaction shifts, and all of this will have an effect. But the bottom line, Liam, is when it comes to working out your brew house efficiency, Brewfather does it, so we don't have to.
Yeah, what you do is your brew, you plug in all the values back into Brewhouse, what you got, and then that then tells you what your brew house and what your mash extraction, etc., all your mash efficiencies and that is, and then it'll tell you a brew house, and then you can use that. You plug that all into your next batch, and then you should be getting more consistent results where you're not getting crazy swings. But
if you're using the same malt, the same hops, it's the same air pressure, you're using the same yeast, the same water profile, all of that will have an effect as well.
Yeah,
and your process is absolutely consistent.
Yeah,
I'll change my brewhouse efficiency based on the gravity of the beer I'm brewing. So if it's a super low ABV, I'll get crazy efficiency. If it's a 6 or 7 or 8%, beer, or an imperial stout, say 12%, then that just your brewhouse,
you'd be at 45,
50, something. It's like it's crazy. Like you could go down for higher gravity, it'll be way down at 70 instead, and then like a low ABV, I could be up at 82, 85,
82, 85, 83. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And it all depends on shifting the equilibrium of the reaction. Obviously, you've got factors which are shifting that equilibrium, i.e. an enzyme, but you still have to get the long chain sugars in contact with the enzyme to turn it into a short chain sugar. So all of these things come in. It's one. Science is fucking epic. All right, that's all I'm gonna say. That is literally it. And also, another scientist has just backed me up. Brewing outdoors on a windy day will give half a litre more boil off. Okay, and it really can. It really can.
Increases the pressure.
Just decrease. No, it decreases the pressure. As the wind passes over the top of the kettle, it literally carries stuff away. Fucking science is a wonderful thing, boys. You should have studied it, really.
I had a smirk on my face because just the irony of when you want to brew a low ABV beer, you don't want to overshoot. Yeah, but it inclines to overshoot, and when you want to brew a really big beer, it tends to incline to undershoot. And it's like it's just kind of slightly Murphy's Law type.
If you really want to try this one out, okay, and you can do this very, very easily, set up a 12-inch desk fan and blow it over the top of your kettle when you're boiling. That's all you have to do.
I was going to say is how many people actually manage to brew vacant gesture at 3.8 and not 4.2?
Yeah. Nobody does it.
Nobody in the world.
The reason why it's 3.8 for Harry and not 4.2 is probably because he's indoors.
Or he probably
he's got
backwaters it to make sure it's.
He probably does, to be fair,
and that's probably like another point to point out, isn't it? It's the good calculators on Brewfather to understand. It's more difficult if you undershoot, but if you overshoot, you can always backliquor, and there's good calculators on Brewfather and various things, other calculators online that will help you easily calculate that. So always have a bit of extra RO water on hand if you need it. So that's always helpful, especially if you're trying to hit a particular ABV. Most of the time, I don't really care. Or DME if you do need it, but always a little trickier.
Can I just say that there is absolutely no chance of me brewing a beer any time within the next 4 days? Because my 2 20-litre containers that are full of RO water, I left them outside. And they are literally fucking frozen solid.
Yeah, you've got ice blocks. You sure your containers are still in one piece?
I've checked them. There's no cracks. But yeah, literally, I have ice. Besides, water only expands 3%, so I've done the maths on it, and they're fine.
The other novel thought I had, right, was if it were, I think we probably overlook the transformation that brewing software brought to home brewers, because if we all had to sit down and work this out on paper, based on like how much, sugar is this amount of malt going to contribute, and how many, doing all the manual calculations. There's a dude that comes to my home brew club that does all of his calculations by hand. He's an old, retired engineer, and clearly like super smart, knows mathematics inside and out.
Yeah, but he was the dude that was doing all the drawings by hand.
Exactly, and he works it all out on paper, which is amazing. And thankfully, we've got a smartphone solution called Brewfather to come save our lives, because we are.
Is his name Adrian?
No.
It's not Adrian Newey then.
It's not Adrian Newey. No. But yeah, it kind of Brewfather definitely allows a lot more access, I would say, to home brewing.
Oh, definitely.
If it wasn't here.
Are we doing a commercial? Question? I want to do a commercial. Please let me do a commercial.
I'm still half a pint away.
Stop being a pussy and smash it. Smash it. Smash it.
Is that not a commercial one?
It is. This is drawing pictures of the mountaintops, but I don't really want to review that again.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a different beer for my commercial.
Fuck. All right. Let's do another question.
I've only got one glass.
Let's do another question.
Then we'll do the commercial, because we've got plenty more questions to go. So this question's from Mark Collywell. He wants to talk about carbonation. So does anyone actually rely on calculators? I force carb at 35 psi at 4.5 degrees C for 36 hours. But then do you have to take into account how full the keg is? That's an interesting question. One that I've definitely seen some differences in. If I filled to the gas in post, it can be as above, but 48 to 60 hours. Yeah. So he's saying actually, if it's more full, it can take longer. I've never calculated. I've just learned as I went. I feel unless your keg has the same volume of liquid every time, it's going to vary. I pretty much use this for all styles, but as Chris pointed out, I only seem to brew 3.
4 apparently is brewed vacant gesture, so he's brewed 4 styles now.
All right, we'll let you off, Mark. Anyone want to dive in? Who wants to open?
I reckon it took 48 to 60 hours instead of the, what did he say, 36? Because what he did was he took a sample off and actually cleared some headspace.
That's down. What it is. He took a pint off, didn't he?
It wasn't actually doing fuck all for the first bit until he took the first pint
off. No, it will.
Very little though, Chris, because you really need a stone if you're going to do it like that.
True.
Whereas once he takes that first pint off to check, and then it actually gives him a bit of headspace, it's that headspace that you need actually to get the carbonation into the beer if you're doing it that way. Yep.
It just takes longer, right? Because I've noticed that when I tend to fill my kegs right up to the point where you guys have been to my gaff. My garage floor is slanted.
It's like it's
which
like
is
that.
weird.
And everything's on chocks. It's like your fridge, and then it's like a big, huge wooden beam just to keep it steady.
Yeah, that's right. Everything's on chocks to get
Everything's
it level.
On chocks.
So what I tend to do is I put my keg on the floor, so it's ever so slightly slanted, only by a few degrees, and then I put and then I turn the in post to slope downwards, and then I put my spunding valve on, and then I literally fill it until beer starts spurting out, and then I kind of know that once I correct that to flat, it will be a pretty consistent level. So carbonation for me tends to be quite a consistent time frame, but then equally as I just set and forget.
We all do that now. So because we've got that many beers on tap, apart from Chris. But because we've got that many beers on tap, I'll literally just set it at the final pressure. So if it's 10 psi for something I want really smooth, like a big thick stout or something, and then if it's like a lager, I'll set it at 15, and then somewhere in between there for various different sort of things. But generally, I quite like a lot of carbonation in my beers, so I will set it to 15 or so. But I've got a whole gas board with those, you know, is it the Kegland ones, the wee white ones, and you can set basically each keg has got its own mini regs. I've got all them, and I just set it to whatever the style is, and then just leave it. I'm not forced carbon. I did at the start when I first started brewing, and it's like you've got 2 kegs on tap, and that's it. You're like, you're shaking that sucker, I want to be drinking this now.
But it also comes down to one of the wonderful things, which is if you got time to allow it to carb naturally at serving pressure, you're allowing that beer time to mature to the point where it's drinkable. Whereas if you bang it at 40 psi and roll it under your feet whilst you're having a wank while you're doing some stuff,
sorry,
right? Then basically you can sort that one out. But the bottom line is you've got to be able to sort this. You've got to come up with a solution that works for you. Me personally, 35-40 psi. I think my kegerator is set at 5 degrees, and then I leave it 36 hours. And then at the end of those 36 hours, I just set it at serving pressure and I leave it, and it works its way up and it does its thing.
How many times have you overcurbed your beer by accident?
Only when it's been too cold or too wet, or I've been doing too much stuff to be able to come down the shed. Yeah, right. But the reality is, I've started these things are wonderful. I just set an alarm now. Oh yeah, that's great picture, that one, by the way. Me and my daughter. But for me, it's just one of those things whereby I set it for a period at a certain PSI to get a vast majority of the carbonation done. I'll then vent it, set it at serving pressure, and just leave it be. And then, 3-4 days later, whatever, it's pretty much perfect. I'll just drink that. But I tend to use, same as Andy does, 10 PSI for something like a stout, 15 PSI for something like a lager. I tend to use 13 PSI for like a hoppy beer. It's all... honestly, it is feel. It's an art form.
Personal preference. Like, I know Del, he prefers like really carbonated beer, so he's like always just set it at 15, and then he's really happy.
Because he's a lager boy.
He is he is. Well, he's not a lager boy, is he? He's definitely an IPA man or West Coast type boy who likes his carbonated beers.
I'm with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer a carbonated beer.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Yeah, you've got to kind of get your own personal preference for that kind of thing.
What about that?
Is every question just going to end up in a sort of vague, like, it really depends on what your preference is?
But it really does. It really does.
It's a very political answer, yeah. Hopefully we're giving you enough context to understand how to apply those preferences.
I think what Mark was more asking was the fact that there are charts where you can say, set your beer at such and such a PSI for so many days, vent it, set it at serving, and leave it. But the point is, it depends how full your keg is. Yeah. No, well, yeah.
Brett, this is what I was wanting to try and talk about, was actually, see when you spun the lager, the bubbles are so tight, the carbonation's so fine. It's like... that is the ultimate. And Chris,
well, we've just seen that, haven't we?
Yeah, like naturally spunded. And the cool thing with lagers is because it'll still ferment when you're slowly cold crashing that. So you slowly cold crash it. It allows it to keep like cleaning up and fermenting, and it actually then gives you this really fine carbonation. Because what you'll find is stainless steel vessels will probably be max rated up to about 15 psi is what they recommend.
Mine's rated to 45.
The new one, though.
Yep.
Right, okay. I think mine's has got a spund on it, and it's 15.
Mine's
On
30.
the Unitank.
But it's rated to 45. You have to test it to 45 every 2 years.
Aye, yeah, but the cool thing is with lagers that when you put it down to that cold temperature, like I don't know, 5-6 degrees when you're cool,
Still fermenting.
That's getting you your carbonation you need, your volumes of CO2. That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's probably a hotly debated point, isn't it? Which is about the quality of carbonation.
Yeah.
Based on, because it's like there's a whole science of... We're not going to get into that now.
I used to think it was bullshit, and now I think it's absolute fucking true.
Especially bottle conditioning.
But I reckon that might be a good subject for the science episode at some point. Is to talk about
Carbonation.
The science of carbonation and trying to understand.
I'm not even researching that, I've got to be honest.
That's why. But then, so Dell, he always bottle carbonates, and like hit the carbonation on his beers is insane. Like how silky, that those bubbles are, sort of thing, from bottle conditioning.
Yeah. There was a big difference between, as Chris eloquently put it, whacking it at 40 degrees and rolling it under your foot whilst you
40 psi
do something else, is compared to like a bottle conditioned beer. That's the carbonation from that. Yeah, there is a difference.
You can see it in the bubbles. You can see how tight the bubbles are.
Yeah, you can, and I'm sure that probably contributes to things like head formation and probably less so retention. But there you go. So
you get that.
Are we gonna, now Chris has left, are we going to go to a commercial break? Andy, do you want to roll us in?
Should we take it to the commercial break?
Great idea, Andy. Great idea. Have you got your beer in the glass already, Andy?
Well, do you know what? I've just been drinking this, the Hofbrau Oktoberfest.
Nice. The classic.
The classic. It's what's the percent on it? It's
the Munich Classic.
Oh my god, 6.3, but it's beast.
Is that their Oktoberfest beer?
Yeah. Yep. Just between Christmas and New Year, I did the whole German beer festival thing. Well, we went to the German beer bar place up in Glasgow, and we proceeded to drink lots of, is it Gross Mass? Lots and lots. I think we had about five of them. And then we switched to pints, or we were drinking the bottles, because I think I sent you the Andex Hell beer, or the green labelled one. Ended up I got the
Vol beer.
Got them onto that and stuff. So yeah.
So for those of you who are interested with Andex beers, the yellow label is the Hefe Hell.
This one.
Yep, that one. The green label is the Vol beer, which is their kind of standard lager or standard Helles. And then the red one is their Special Hell, which is a special Helles.
It's like the Oktoberfest, isn't it? But
basically, yeah, but not quite. It's more of a slightly stronger lager.
Yeah, but that was dynamite.
It's amazing. We were weirdly talking on Wednesday about a trip to the Holy Mountain, which I absolutely have to do, even if it involves taking my kids.
Chris has been messaging the monks to see if they'll come.
I have genuinely, literally, I have messaged the monks.
Monks at Andex Cluster, yeah.
I'm hoping to fuck that they haven't all taken a vow of silence, otherwise that's going to be one sucky podcast. But yeah,
like miming. Chris.
Oh, wait there, Liam is drinking the Special Hell now. Liam, I'm not being funny. If there is not a picture of that on Discord in the next 3 minutes, I'm kicking you out of the Discord server.
Oh mate, that is easily one of the best beers I've probably ever tasted.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
Absolutely stunning. I do think bucket list, got to go to Andex.
Oh, it absolutely is on the bucket list.
Yeah, it's got to be done. Gotta be done.
Yeah.
So Andy, was that your commercial beer? Was that just
that's
a little anecdote?
That's it. And it's just
I'm going to stop my cam while I pour my beer because I don't want you to see it.
All right, shall I dive into my commercial?
Yeah, why not?
I might be regretting this one.
You went Dipper, 8%.
I didn't go Dipper. I went
Imperial Stout.
Dipper. I went with a triple IPA today. This is an Omnipollo triple IPA called
Owen.
The End.
You dirty slag.
which is an Omnipollo collab with I assume a Belgian brewery. Maybe someone Google this. It's Brewos, which is Brujos. I've not heard of them before. If anyone in the chat has, give us a shout. So this is Citra, an all Citra, start to finish, triple IPA, and smells amazing. It smells amazing. Like once you get into like high alcohol hoppy beers, the alcohol has a way of accentuating the hops in a way that just isn't achievable in a beer of a low ABV.
Correct.
But this has got like, don't take this the wrong way. When do you remember Long Life orange juice? In the like carton.
The pasteurized stuff.
The pasteurized stuff. And sometimes you used to sort of open it up and it just smelled a bit like slightly fermented orange juice. Yeah. This smells a bit like
dank.
Slightly fermented orange juice.
Well, it's all Citra, isn't it?
But there's pineapple notes.
Yeah, they used to be
like
doing
really fleshy mango, stone fruit.
And it's Omnipollo.
Grape. It's wild. Like every time you have a little snifter, you get something different.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. Give you a little view of it, as you can imagine. Looks like orange juice.
Yeah, it does.
Looks like fizzy orange juice. Let's give it a taste. Wow. That's like a journey. That is a journey from sip to swallow. Crikey. That's going to take some unpackaging. It's just like pure hopical juice on the initial contact.
It's all Citra.
All Citra. Then it rolls off into something that's a bit more rounded, like a sort of stone fruit thing, and then you actually swallow it and you get quite a bitterness and an alcohol thing.
Do you think they got an eBay deal as well, Owen?
But you're left with this flavour of like orange peel and lemon peel, just like on the palate.
Lemon?
That's wild. That is wild.
Does it say what yeast they used? No.
There's no info on it other than it says Brewos on everyone's lips, Citra from start to finish, from beginning to end. Hence the end. Enthusiastically crafted at our church brewery on, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that, but it's their street name in Sweden.
The church?
Sundbyberg.
Oh, is it a collab?
It's a collab, yeah.
Right, okay, cool.
With Brewos. And I'm just going to go, because since neither of you took the hint, I'm going to Google it.
I'm sorry, I'm responding to our Patreons on Discord.
Nice.
Excuses.
Oh, you wait until you
so it sounds like it's a Portland brewery.
I'm just looking at Chris's beer and I'm like, that is very freaking dark. And see the head? It's like chocolate head.
Mm-hmm.
I bet he's getting on the phone or something like you two.
I have.
Oh no,
a
wait,
bit-
you get
I've-
you get vocation. I reckon.
I have a bit more than Omnipollo. That's all I'm saying.
So Brewing are based in Portland, United
Oh,
States.
cool.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's pretty wild. So I suspect they're bringing a fair, big, hazy, hoppy beer knowledge to Omnipollo to make this beer. But yeah, it's awesome. So give it 20 minutes, and I might not be able to answer that many questions coherently.
What's the ABV?
It could be interesting. 10.2. 10.2%. It's a 440. Don't worry about it.
Amateur. That's all I'm gonna say. Amateur.
I'll be 330 in it. But
Okay. Owen,
Go on, Chris.
rank it out of 5.
Oh man, hard to say. I think I'm gonna give it like just for like pure novelty. I'm gonna give 4.4.
Ooh.
I thought you were
Ooh.
It's genuinely really well crafted. It's really lovely beer,
Nice.
crazy flavor profile. It's very, very different. Nothing like a triple IPA I've had before. It's a real treat.
Andy, rank your Hofbrau Oktoberfest beer.
4 out of 5. Yeah, because I have had better.
It's a great beer.
I have had, yeah. There has been better ones, but it is good. It is good.
Hang on, fucking everything's going mental at the moment. Hang on a sec, I'm gonna share this one.
What's he got? Oh dear.
That's all, folks.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, so
See you all tomorrow.
Andy, I love your beer. I've just had it myself. It's epic. Owen, your beer sounds tremendous.
Right.
Oh, he's gone in the big guns.
3 times 3. 3 times 3. Volume 3, Imperial Stout, Side Project, 3 Sons, Private Press, Horus, Angry Chair, Phase 3. Okay? This is a limited edition beer. If you want to know how much this is a can, go and check it out on Beer Merchants. That's all I'll say. Also, version 4 is in the post.
Is it?
I have been so completely impressed with some of the Imp Stouts I've been having recently. I decided to buy even more.
I don't like Imp Stouts.
Yeah.
now.
Hey, I have
Don't
changed
drink
my
some,
mind. Changed my mind. Changed my mind. Guys, I like to think of this podcast as an education for both me and everyone else. Okay, this has been an education. So, coming in at a very small 12%, this is... Oh my good God, this is one hell of a beer. So, it's an Imp Stout, that's all I'll say. I haven't actually read the can completely because there's very little in it. All I know is that once a year, all of these breweries get together and produce the epitome, the de facto, the creme de la creme of what they can produce as an Imp Stout. This is thick. I swear to God, the final gravity of this beer has got to be at least twice what my normal beer's starting gravity is. If this beer doesn't finish at 1070, then I don't know what the hell is going off. Right, this is thick as hell.
Yeah.
But all I get from this when I drink it, it's coating, it's thick, there's an alcohol kick. And then I get raisins, and I get wood,
Oh, nice.
and I get cherries, weirdly, like quite a prominent flavour of cherries. And then as I exhale, I get plums, and I get all kinds of like really strange flavours coming through, and it's really fruity, and it's really like coffee and chocolate, and it's deep, Right, you could swim in this. It's a deep, deep beer.
Did you? Sounds like you would be quicksand sinking.
Oh, mate, I'll be honest with you, I'd probably float on the top of this beer. It's so thick. It's one of those beers where I bought it thinking, do you know what? I'll buy it and I'll try it and I'll see what it is. Stupidly, I clicked buy 2 cans. Who'd have thunk it? I've already had 1 can of this.
Oh,
This is a deep, dark, and dirty Imperial Stout. And it's incredible. And if you haven't purchased this beer, go right now, beermerchants.com, buy Volume 3 and Volume 4, because trust me, you need both. There's no head retention. As you can see, there is no head retention on this.
It was earlier. See when you had it sitting there?
Yeah, but the lacing's quite nice.
Like a pure, like, really dark head.
Coffee head. It is just a stupendously thick beer. And I've really grown to love like an OT, deep, thick, chewable kind of Imperial Stout. Because the one thing that I'm taking from this more than anything else is the way that the fruit flavours layer through it. As the temperature changes, as it warms, not that it's going to warm up tonight. I mean, Jesus,
What's it called, Chris? What's it called?
3 times 3.
So just 3 or 3. See if I times 3 times 3.
It's only
Omnipollo.
It's only £17, 17 pence
A can.
on
But it's worth it.
Beer Merchant.
It's like L'Oreal. It's worth it, boys. It's a stupendous beer, and it's thick, and it's fruity with coffee and raisin and like chocolate notes coming through from it, and there's virtually no bitterness. It's such an outstandingly amazing beer. I would heartily recommend you get it. But here's a weird thing, Owen. Based on some of the other beers I've had recently, and I had the Basil Hayden Noah from Omnipollo. I would rank that higher than this. The Basil Hayden would come in at 4.7 on my out of 5 rating.
Really?
I wouldn't push this much past about 4.4 because the fruit flavours aren't as pronounced as they are in the Basil Hayden Noah. It's a great beer. Don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic beer. But you have to try one of these. You really have to.
I mean, that's an even more expensive beer. It's a 33 centilitre bottle and it's 19 quid.
But it's worth it though, boys.
I mean, that's a really, really special occasion beer, isn't it? You're talking...
It was Christmas Day at my brother-in-law's is what it was for me.
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of a birthday, Christmas day.
It's dirty, but it's good.
You know.
And my last order at Beer Merchants was expensive, that's all I'll say.
That was your sort of Christmas Christmas advent calendar, wasn't it?
It was. I've got two more in the fridge still to drink. This is absolutely worth a purchase, boys. If you're putting an order in at Beer Merchants, stick one of these on your order. Stick V3 and V4 and just see where you end up. But this is spectacular. I've got that in the fridge as well.
Rumpy
Pumpy.
Yeah. I'm going to join you with them.
You have to, Andy, because I've already had that beer and it's amazing.
What was that? Was that from...
Britannia?
It's a Ian Benefell, Britannia Brewing. It's his Rumpy Pumpy Imperial Stout. And it is absolute filth, but it's worth every single fucking penny that you didn't pay for that. It's an amazing beer.
That's thick.
I had a very nice Pohala beer when I was in Latvia before Christmas.
Pohala?
Pohala, yeah. It was a barrel-aged Pohala beer. Given I was in Latvia, which is just south of Estonia, where Pohala are based, I was like, it'd be rude not to. Rude not to. And I was at Bull House last weekend.
You were, weren't you?
Yeah. If anyone finds themselves in Belfast, check out Bull House East. Great tap room. Really, really nice. Some fantastic beers. Had suds, had rolling papers, fresh, off the tap. Absolutely amazing. yeah, some quality beers being served there. Give them a shout out.
Brett has discovered that the Omnipollo Billionaires Church chocolate is quite expensive. Might actually be on my next order, that one, Owen. Possibly.
Deep pockets for a Yorkshireman.
It's only 33 quid a can. A bottle, sorry.
Only 33. Is that a pound mil?
It's £1 per 10 mil.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. So effectively, a shot
Yes.
of this
is 25.
Is
£2.50.
Let's call it 30 mils for a shot. 3 quid.
Yep.
3 quid a shot.
Yeah, for a beer. It's amazing, though. I mean, I have truly discovered the complexity of Imp Stouts, and honestly, I'm not entirely sure I can not drink them now.
Oh, they're so good. Like,
no, Andy, ignore the fact that they're so good. Ignore the over-egging the pudding on this one, all right? The simple fact of matter is, they're as complex and as different and as flavourful as a malt whiskey.
I was literally was what I was thinking there. Like,
that's exactly what they are.
What it's like. It's at that sort of, because the alcohol's so high, and then you're because a lot of them are barrel aged or they've got like bourbon or whiskey in them. It's like you do get a lot of those kind of oaky characteristics.
But they're very much like treated like.
Wait there! I want to see what he says when he drinks that beer.
Oh, it's amazing! Like, I've been drinking it. It's like,
yeah,
I'm definitely getting some sort of like fruit. Like it's like a kind of cherry sort of berry sort of thing going on with the chocolate. And
as much as, you know, Ian is a great brewer, I honestly believe that those impies that he's produced are world class. They are world class Imp Stouts.
It's good, isn't it?
They're great. This version 3 is phenomenal. I can't wait to taste version 4.
Beautiful. Shall we get back to the questions? Because that was quite.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was quite the commercial break, wasn't it?
It was. It was
OG on the commercial break today.
What we at 142?
Right. Chris, do you want to open up on the next question?
I will. So, Teddy G, one of our wonderful Patreons, legend of a man. Brewing systems. What are the pros and cons of 3-vessel versus all-in-one?
Oh wow!
Now this question could be an episode on its own. I'll be honest with you. This is a complex one. So we have done an episode where we talk about the differences between all-in-ones, 3-vessel, you know, brewing a bag, all that kind of thing. So please go and listen to that episode because we do go into it in much more detail. But excuse me, pardon me.
A quick roundup is
a quick burp. The quick roundup is, it's control. Do you have a penchant for excessive shiny?
Yes.
And do you have more money than sense?
Yes.
Right? Because the size of batches really has an effect here. But it all comes down to money. You can brew the same beer in an all-in-one compared to a 3-vessel. But it's going to cost you a bit more because your efficiency is going to be a touch lower.
Maybe.
It will be. But here's the thing. If you want to scale your brewing, maybe go from 23 to 46 or maybe 82 litres, whatever you want to brew to. The bottom line is multiple vessels scale much better than smaller vessels and all-in-ones. So if you're thinking about bumping your brewing up to a bigger level, go for the 3-vessel.
Or you can end up commercial, basically.
Oh yeah, you're going to end up at commercial size now.
Because it's a B1. Is it a B120? Oh,
150.
Is it a B150?
Yeah,
150.
It's the biggest you can go. So once you go above that, then you're back into territory of.
You're at nano brewery, aren't you?
2 to 3 vessels.
I think that probably is the biggest homebrew all-in-one kit you can buy.
Yeah, by a mile.
Yeah, I've seen in the States they do have ones that you can brew in this it's like a big fermenter thing almost like that has a basket and it's that's pretty unique. I think that there's a system, but once you go to commit like big commercial, then it goes to multi vessel, and I think that's
I'm not
the
even sure
benefit of
big.
homebrew skills.
Yeah, I think as soon as you step out of
200 litres is
100,
commercial.
as soon as you're into beyond 150 litres,
It's no longer practical.
you're pretty much it's totally impractical. You're talking about having a winch, which I have to use, just for the B80.
Yeah.
And I, if anyone is even thinking about using, not using a winch on a B80 on non-single batches, you're asking for trouble trying to pull that grain basket out, unless you're Hulk Hogan.
There's very few people that can do a 60 kilo raise lift.
Yeah,
you can't do it.
Yeah, like I could probably do like a 40 kilo raise lift, but of course, like the fact that unless you've got it on the floor, which most people don't, because the screen's right at the bottom, you tend to have it raised, and then you're like talking about standing over it. It gets messy. But the point was, and we've digressed, anything above like 200, you're into 3 vessel systems.
You're totally into 3 vessel. I personally, Owen, would say you're into 3 vessel at 100 litres.
Probably, yeah.
You want,
yeah.
Because at that point,
aside from the B150, you're into 3 vessel beyond 80 to 100 litres.
Yeah. Now, what are the advantages of 3 vessel versus single vessel? Well, the cons of having a 3 vessel over an all-in-one is essentially they're really expensive. You got 3 things you've got to buy. You've got to buy decent kettles because you're not going to be going with 0.5 mil stainless. If you're having a 3 vessel, the amount of heat loss you're going to get is going to be ridiculous. So you're going to want 1.5 to 1.8. There's a hell of a lot.
No, the ones we use is what do you call it? The insulated thermal mash pots, the stainless.
But that's the mash tun. So we're talking about the kettles at the moment. If you wanted to go 3 vessel and not use a dedicated, a specific built mash tun, then you're going to be talking another kettle. And at which point, you want a thick one. You want a decent thick base on it. You want decent metal. They're expensive. They take a hell of a lot of cleaning. They take up a lot of space. It adds to your brew day because all of a sudden you need another vessel. So you need a hot liquor tank. You need your mash tun. You need your sparge vessel. You need your boil kettle. You've then got to have bigger fermenters. All of this adds money to what is already an expensive proposition. The pros of this, the pros of having 3 vessel, they're easier to break down and deep clean to an extent. Have you got the same thing going off with your mouth here? With your jaw muscles?
My jaw muscles hurting, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an effect of the high alcohol. You've got more flexibility for upgrades and tinkering. It's easier to rescue a brew day if something dies. You can swap bits out. You are not going to be using an all-in-one at this point, all right? So the bottom line is, at what point do you swap? The answer is around about 100 litres. Should you do it? It depends what you want to do. If you want to imitate a pro brewery, go for it. You can do 3 vessel at 23 litres. Would I recommend it? No, I wouldn't. I've got a 50 litre brew in a bag all-in-one system that I use. Why would I upgrade? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, once you've done the investment, Chris, and that's it, innit? It's like,
I think for most homebrewers, all-in-one systems are.
Well, I'm the 3 vessel dude here.
I think they're lower cost. They take up less space. They are fiddlier, though. Well, possibly fiddlier.
No, they are fiddlier.
But what I like about mine, okay, you can build your own, like Chris has done, but if something breaks, which does happen, you don't just bin your brewing system and go buy another cheap brewing system.
Well, you have to literally invest in a brew tool system at an all-in-one level to not have to just bin your all-in-one if it breaks.
But then, yeah, is the support
Agreed,
good
Owen.
then? Is the support good to change elements or something? Like, can you change the element?
It was £100 for an
You
element,
change
isn't it?
everything. You can change everything out of it. Any part that breaks, you can buy it and
Well,
change
that's
it
when
out.
you. That's why you would buy that. Whereas if you buy a Clarestein flipping whatever or a Buffalo or something, then once that breaks, it's like you better hope AliExpress has got something that will
Well, and
to
this is
fix it.
this
If
was
not, it's you're going
this was always my use case for
buy cheap, buy
like
twice.
forking out for a brutal system, which was, you can buy Clarstein every 2 years, right? Because you get maybe a 2-year warranty. You may be going to get 2 or 3 years out of it before it breaks. Buy a brutal system. I bought mine 4 years ago. I've never had to replace anything on it. It's hyper quality, and it will literally last me my lifetime.
You hope.
I'm literally
unless
never
they
going to
go
have
out
to
of business.
buy.
If they go out of business,
If they go out of business, then they go
and they
out of
change
business.
the design and they go, right, we're no longer doing this one.
But here's the
You
thing,
will be-
Andy. They've sold so many B40s and B80s and B150s. They're going to be like Honda. Do you honestly think they're going to let a single part go
think
out of
you're
stock?
I think your brutal system, you're gonna have like, I reckon genuinely you'll have a 10 to 20 year sort of lifespan on it, and then you'll probably
think
want to move up to the next whatever's the new, because they're innovating. Like
They're innovating, but are they
ridiculously.
innovating their kettles?
There'll be something.
Probably not over a 10-year span, but over maybe a 20-year span.
Mm.
There's just maybe something we just haven't thought about.
Yeah.
Equally, as if they do go out of business, they're probably going to want to sell off a whole load of stock, and I'm probably going to have to suck it up and buy some back stock and just go, right, well, that's going to future-proof me.
If you get 10 years out of brewing system, you're going to be delighted at that. Honest.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You
like,
get 10 years out of a Brew Tools without having to replace a single damn thing.
That's good.
You are doing incredibly well. And to be fair, as much as I bag on the fact that they're really fucking expensive and, my system was much cheaper and all that lot, if you get 10 years out of a Brew Tool system and all you have to replace is one element at £85, don't fucking complain.
No, I wouldn't.
yeah.
No.
Do not complain.
Actually, a lot of my rationale was also like, up until I bought that, I was constantly spending money buying this little bit of kit, buying that little bit of kit.
Tweak,
And things just ending up going on the shelf, not being used. And I was actually spending a shitload of money constantly innovating. And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of done with that. Like, that's like, I don't want to engineer anymore.
No.
I'm just going to buy the best bit of kit, and that's it. Like, I'm done on buying stuff on
You upgraded the watering can.
Yeah, I did upgrade the watering can. You're right, Andy. But there were a few innovations. I can't claim that I haven't.
Yeah.
Bought a few extra bits and bobs, but equally it wasn't like constantly moving between this system and that system, because I've gone.
Your Brew Tools, see if you decide to give up brewing on, your Brew Tool system is worth money.
Yeah.
See your Kegel system, it's worth peanuts, right? And you probably spend the same money building a similar system, yet the all-in-one, you'll bet the resale on that is so much higher.
Yeah, I might only make like a 30% loss, maybe at best, maybe 40% on the Brew Tool system, because there is a lot of value in it. So yeah, that's another flip side, right?
Yep.
Anyway, we've got very distracted from talking about pre-vessel versus.
But we haven't. We haven't. We've been on topic for this question, and I have to admit, everything that we've said so far has been useful. So, yeah, they take a bit more cleaning to 3-vessel compared to all-in-ones, but bottom line is cleaning's part of the deal. Suck it up and get on with it. I think it's as simple as that. It is. It's as simple as that. Suck it up, get on with it. So, the next question is one from Chris Ibbo, and it was posted late. So, Chris, You can be grateful for the fact that I actually read fucking Discord before I jumped online.
Stuck it in earlier rather than at the end of the.
Yeah. Right. So, ingredients freshness is always banged on about, and it was banged on about from the dude from Bath Haas. It's been banged on about by the malt miller.
Malt miller's key.
Does it really matter or not? Is essentially what Chris is asking. Of course, he understands the need for proper storage and impact on yeast viability, but people say use fresh hops. But as he said, and I agree with this, it's not like they are harvested and sold close to that date. Always. Similarly, barley is harvested and malted well before use. Malt miller gives a few months, he thinks, on crushed malt, which is best before date. Yet crisp crushed sacks have a BB of 12 months from being crushed. Important to remember this. Will a 2022 hop versus a 2023 hop make a significant difference, or a malt crushed 6 months ago versus on the day, as an example? Now, I've written a reply to this in defense of the other two people that I do this podcast with, the wonderful Andy with his tea cozy, and Owen with his fantastically koi-fjord head. All right? One thing, I wrote this down. So, according to every single guest that we've had on, and a couple of experiments that I personally have done, the freshness of the ingredients is of massive importance, okay? I know that's not what you want to hear, Christian, but it's what I'm going to tell you. You will get better extraction and flavour from the fresh crushed grain over a pre-crushed because of something oxidation. You can't hide from it.
I've got a malt mill. I buy all my stuff whole malt, and
everybody does. Well, I know.
Not everybody.
I meant on the podcast. I think all of us have a malt mill, don't we? Do you have a malt mill, Owen? So all of us on the podcast have a malt mill.
Right,
okay. So one thing that I will say is oxidation of grain is a very real thing. You cannot hide from it. It's going to happen. Okay. Mark Colwell's just corrected me. Malt mill crisp grain has 12 months. They're probably going by the crisp best before end. Just as a guess. Might be right, might be wrong. Okay. You will get better extraction from fresh crushed grain compared to pre-crushed grain, which is at that point where it's like 3 months past its crush date. You will always get better extraction. Oxidation causes that. You can't hide from it. It's going to happen.
Crush, like just on this subject of crushed versus doing your own, right? What I found was the bag. You buy a 25 kilo sack of malt, right, and it was crushed. It would all shift down, so that actually, as you went through the bag, your efficiency dropped maybe at the end. Your last brew was absolutely shocking because Chris, you're on mute, mate. But
I know, but I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, so it was like just crushing it. Or like, okay, it's a massive pain in the arse adding that step, and sometimes I love when you get sent when you get a recipe kit, right? And you just put it in, and it's like, wow, that was so easy because it just literally cut out 45 minutes of my night before prep or something like that, crushing grains.
Charge your drill, Andy.
Or when you order malt from the malt miller and you forgot to click uncrushed rather than crushed, and it turns up crushed, and then you're like, oh well.
Oh,
but
no.
There is an important point here in the fact that the malt miller offer an amazing service in terms of separating out a 25
they do
sack and crush it and put it into 5 kilo sacks that they then seal.
That's
so
cool.
If you're crushing and then sealing it, that's going to significantly reduce that oxidation risk.
Yep.
But you're not getting that shifting in the 25 kilo sack either.
Exactly, you're going to avoid that as well. Right, you do have to pay a little extra for that service, but I do think if you're not brewing frequently or you don't have a malt mill, then I think that's probably worth the extra pound.
If I'm only brewing every now and again, I'll buy on recipe, so I'll just get a recipe kit type thing. Would be the way I would go and just get it ordered. Whereas, we've all got into the whole of like, let's just buy 5 kilos of citra type thing, you know.
You guys have. I never fell into that one.
But even the kilos,
Yeah.
we'll buy kilo things of hops, on our favourite hops. And yeah, you could be taking 3 years, maybe 4 years to work your way through some of that stuff,
Totally.
right? And okay, we've
For
all
sure.
got vac sealers, but yeah, it's not going to
But
be the
that's an
same.
important point. Your vac sealer, right? There's a big difference. If you open hops and then vac seal them, they're clearly going to be much fresher than if you don't. If you leave them
You're
out
not washing with nitrogen either,
in a
though.
pint glass on the side in your garage, then they're not going to be good a day after you do that, let alone a week,
No.
a month, a year, or 2 years, right? So it's very contextual to how you then treat things. So let's, for the assumption of the question, say malt is just kept in a bag that's not necessarily sealed, but in somewhere cool and
Sealed
stored
in
away.
the-
Hops are put in a bag and in a freezer,
Yep.
but maybe not vac sealed. That gives us at least a baseline of kind of comparison, right? To be able to accurately answer this question, which I think in short is freshness of hops and freshness of ingredients broadly does make a big difference to the final
Yeah.
beer.
But you pay for it, I think. You pay in cost is the thing.
You don't, though. You don't, Andy. That's the wonderful thing. You don't.
Yeah, because ends up is you end up a whole load. You end up paying way more than you actually need to because you never use everything that's in that damn fridge anyway.
I think there are losses, right? There are losses in terms of what you don't see. The hidden cost is that hops you don't use and you end up throwing away.
Yeah,
The malt that you
Or the
eventually
yeast.
throw away.
They talked about yeast in there. Oh, and I remember I was using USO5 and I had the tilt at the time, and I actually could track over time. See, as that yeast got to a year old, like the lag time was like it just started lagging right out, and I was like, I actually stopped using the brick.
Yeah.
That
that's
time
just
'cause
viability, right?
It was the last 200 or 300 grams of that brick was just like, this is garbage because, like, when you compare it to when it was fresh, it was going like a rocket, and then all of a sudden it's taking so much longer to ferment
And
it
that's going
out.
to impact on the outcome of your beer, right? You want highly viable yeast, you want freshly crushed grain, and you want as fresh hops as you can possibly get.
Yeah,
That's pretty much the answer, isn't it?
That pretty much is the
Is
answer.
freshness is the answer to the best possible beer you can make. But if we're going to get into the grey areas, is like, I think it's probably fine to use malt that's been well stored, that has been crushed up to probably a year. But it depends what you're using. If it's if you're using 2% of a Carapils that's been around for a year compared to using 89% of a Pilsner, then that's going to be material to how the freshness of the beer presents, isn't it?
There has to be taken into account the fact that base malts we go through faster than adjunct malts.
Yeah.
Yeah?
yeah.
And I think buying uncrushed of all of them is the way to go. I absolutely agree that is the requirement, okay? One of the things that I took away from the podcast that we did, I can't remember his name. I'm shit with names. The dude from WHC, not from WHC, from Bathhouse, Tom Bacon. That was his name.
Tom Bacon, legend.
I was literally reading the notes in my head. One of the things that we took away from that was the fact that you need to take into account the fact that those oils are going to end up on the inside of the bag. They are. It's as simple as that. You can't get away from it. They're going to end up on the inside of the bag. So this is why we do vitality starters. This is why we want to use, fresh yeast. This is why we want to use fresh hops. This is why we want to use fresh malts. And as much as I hate to say it, because I agree with buying in bulk for certain things, the fact that the malt miller offer a service which gives you a recipe kit, which turns up on your doorstep.
We've said this, right? We've discussed. I remember Trick even mentioning is like, why don't we just buy per recipe? Like, you literally, the only cool thing is when you've got loads of ingredients in the house, you can literally on the fly go, I'm brewing today, and I fancy doing this, and you've got all the stuff in stock, and you just make it and go for it.
That should be the way that it works if you brew every weekend. If you don't brew every weekend,
We're not.
then
It kind of serves to a more impulsive brewing mentality, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But we should be impulsive with this.
Well, yeah, I like that. I like the impulsivity. I like to be able to have enough malt in my store to be able to make pretty much 95% of beer styles. I want to have the hops there to make 95% beer styles. It's normally the yeast that's the limiting factor.
I've probably got. I mean, see if you took all your ingredients that you've currently got in stock, how many litres could you brew?
1,000. About 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably got 75 kilos of base malt.
I can't put my hand up, Brett. I'm sorry. I can't put my hand up at all. I'm a complete hoarder. Right?
I reckon I've probably got 150.
I'll probably get 3 or 4
Yeah.
25 kilo sacks of malt under the stairs.
But this is the wonderful thing, right? And I don't want people to think that you have to do it one way or the other, because there's multiple ways of doing this. Personally,
Brett is the worst.
Brett's just awesome. I love Brett to bits. Even his shiny slappy forehead. I love all of Brett.
Brett could probably do a 20 hec.
He could probably do a 20 hec batch, yeah. But this is the reason why, and just to go through my notes so that, I feel like I've completed the task. Fresher hops haven't lost their oils to the bag. They haven't started to go cheesy, right? The fresher the yeast, the higher the vitality. That's the fucking reason why we do vitality starters.
Yeah.
All right? All of these are reasons why fresher is always better. All right?
Yeah,
and it's as simple as that.
We've been enjoying the dry. Dry's been good.
Now, one of the things that I want to point out, okay, is a little paragraph that's just there. As far as a significant difference between the hops, significant is a very, very strong word, and it's one that should not be taken lightly. If you have 2022 hops versus 2023 hops, 22. Both have been sealed, both have been sat in a freezer, okay, the difference shouldn't be more than a couple of percent.
Well,
it shouldn't.
No, it's literally harvest year's crops. It's like 23 could be absolute garbage, and 22 is the one you want.
No, but that's not the point that we're making, Andy.
Right.
Oh,
right?
but it could be.
The point
not the context of the question.
No, you are confusing the context of the question, Andy. If you have 2023 and it's fully sealed, vacuum, nitrogen flushed, vacuum sealed, and you've got 2023 nitrogen flushed, vacuum sealed, right? The difference between those two hops at the point where you put them in a beer should be maybe 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, agreed.
Is it going to make a massive difference? Is it fuck? But the malts is a significant difference, and it will always be. The fresher the malt that you have, the better it's going to be. You can see that in colour, you can see that in taste, okay? The difference is in the flavour and in the colour, and you can see it with old malt versus new malt. Simple as that, all right? Very obvious to me. I've done this experiment myself. It's very, very, very obvious. So,
and I think yeast probably is just a whole different point of discussion.
So
I'm going to move us on to a slightly more light-hearted
this
question.
is a good one.
yeah, I like this one.
So this question comes from our good friend Gilles Catillou from the Patreon gang, and he said, if you would like to throw a 3-course food and beer pairing dinner party what would each of your menus look like? And there is a nice little plot twist that I like. Because
This is why we don't like you, Jill.
Because we
Jill
would have
knows
all
us.
done, because we
Right.
would have. This is exactly what we would have done.
The plot twist is barbecue food is not allowed.
Because barbecue would have been like,
Yeah.
Jill, I love you.
Literally.
I love Zanzi. I think you're an awesome human being. But on this particular point, I despise the fact that you exist.
literally, Kelly Babs is on the menu next week.
But thanks for the question.
Yeah, but thanks for the question, buddy.
Yeah. Cool. So we have even Tricky's contributed to this, even though he's not
Yeah,
here.
look again.
So I'm up first. So I'm gonna get like really wanky on mine, and I'm gonna go starter. I'm gonna go like a really nice Gravlax, or a nice whiskey smoked salmon starter, maybe with a little bit of fennel.
Fennel salad.
Yeah, maybe a little fennel salad, a nice little vinaigrette, maybe some nice buttered brown bread. And I'm going to pair that with a not outrageously mixed fermentation sour. It's not going to be full farmyard, but it's definitely going to have a little bit of character.
Owen, the brown bread, is it going to be sourdough or not?
It's definitely sourdough.
That's
for
good.
sure. For sure.
I don't have to cut all contact with you now.
Yeah, no, that's going to pair nicely with the mixed fermentation sour, right? Not fruited, if anyone wants to get really specific.
All right, that's a good point. I like that.
Main, I'm gonna bend the rules that
It's not bending them; it's abiding
Jill-
by them.
it is, but equally it's going to be a slow braised short rib with fondant potatoes paired with an imperial porter. And probably
sounds good.
Pretty straight imperial porter.
Are we going to go
Something-
steamed broccoli?
Yeah, I think there will be some nice steamed veg going along with that, right?
That's good. That's good.
And then finally, I'm going to have a sticky toffee pudding with ice cream.
Fuck off. Did
Right,
you
maybe
cook that?
like a salted caramel ice cream or a stem ginger ice cream might be nice.
Stem ginger would be good.
I'm going to pair that with an imperial brown ale.
Ugh.
Right, so there's like lovely, dark, nutty flavours coming through.
I'm just turning the camera off for a minute, boys.
Yeah, he's grabbed the wet
I
wipes.
see your fucking baby.
So there's my beautifully curated 3-course meal paired with beers. Feel free to thank me later. You're welcome.
I have to say, that sounds absolutely spanking gorgeous, that does, mate. Aside from the Gravlax, which you can keep because I don't eat raw fish.
It's not
Also, yes, it is. Also, the sticky toffee pudding with ice cream, that's wrong. Hot should never be paired with cold. Sticky toffee pudding with custard, I'd have gone
I
for.
disagree.
No.
I think there's a nice melding of hot and cold coming.
agree.
No.
Yeah,
You need the ice. You need the custard. Sorry, you need the custard. So, okay. I would go personally with chicken wings, oven roasted chicken wings, and then finished specifically for 3 minutes in the air fryer at 200 degrees.
I did chicken thighs in the oven. No, I did chicken thighs in the air fryer tonight with peri peri.
22 minutes, babe.
30. I ended up doing 30.
Really? You need a stronger air fryer.
No.
So-
And it was well done.
So I would say that those chicken wings have to be served with a mixture of sour cream, mayonnaise. Shout out to my boy Deck from Cowden Beef.
Yeah.
His roasted Scotch bonnet hot sauce, and I'm going to be very specific about this, Marks and Spencer's blue cheese, right? Give that a good mix, dip you in, all served with a Vienna lager. A good, deep Vienna lager. Decocted if you can manage it, okay?
That is a strong start.
That's your starter. That's your starter. Main course,
Anyone else starving?
30-hour oxtail stew. So oxtail gets roasted for 15 hours at gas mark 3. Okay, with suet dumplings, because if you're not making your dumplings with suet, you're doing something fucking wrong. It has to be steamed broccoli, honey roasted carrots, fresh peas, none of this frozen shit, served with a Vocation Imperial Stout.
That's early with a main. Okay.
Please, stop being a pussy.
I'd leave them pay. Oh, well,
Okay? And then dessert would be a lemon and sultana baked cheesecake. None of this fucking preset shit. Baked cheesecake with a verdant, juicy Nipah. That
like
would
a
be
double IPA. We talking
No,
about
I'm
like
not-
a 6.5%.
We've already had the Imp Stout, man.
No.
Well, I mean, like go big or go home.
I'm talking a 5.86% super juicy Nipah
went
from
lemon.
Verdant.
What you want is an Omnipolo tipper.
That's really what I do want, I'll be honest. Or a can of 3x3.
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah, that would be my 3-course meal, and it would have to have the absolute important points in that are Dex roasted Scotch bonnet hot sauce,
Oh.
and the fact that the lemon and sultana cheesecake has to be baked.
Nice.
Dude.
Nice. That's fair. And big shout out to Deck for sending out so many people. Some
Oh man,
absolutely
I've
banging
got it in
hot
my
sauces.
salads and all sorts, like the mango. The other day I had the mango one
You had a
all
mango,
over
I
my
had a
salad.
pineapple one.
Did.
Very good, very good. Right, Tricky is up next. I'm gonna. How about each of us taking up? He's kept it pretty straightforward. Each of us take a starter, main, and dessert.
I'll do the
and
main.
We can ad lib. I'll take the starter. You can take the dessert.
Yeah.
So Ritz
please,
has gone
absolutely
with Thai fish cakes, right? And I'm going to add to the vision of this with like a nice pickled radish, right? Like a nice pickled
With
radish
chili.
salad, yeah,
With chili.
sliced chili,
Yeah, man.
sliced chili, with like a nice like reduced chili sauce. Right.
Sugar and vinegar, man. Let's go thick.
Yeah, like a thick chili sauce. Not your just standard chili sauce out of the bottle. We're talking about like a real amped up, sticky chili sauce. And he's going to pair that with a New Zealand Pilsner.
It's a great
Probably
shout.
Like a Riwaka
Riwaka Motueka New Zealand Pilsner.
Yeah.
Dirty.
Yeah.
Going with the extra lime
There you
character.
go. Tricky, if you're listening. If you listen back, clearly you are, because you're going to be editing this episode at some point. I hope I've done that justice for you. What's up for main, Chris?
I think Tricky's main was the classic ribeye steak with Uruguayan chimichurri
Yeah.
and triple cooked chips.
What? No, wasn't it quad cooked chip?
I said quad cooked. He specified triple cooked. Personally, I would go with quad cooked chips, just for that the shatter factor between your teeth.
Really? Like
Yeah,
it's
that's
really gotten into like crispy bit.
Oh, mate, we're
Chippy.
talking. If you knock it on a table, it's going to shatter.
How thick is the ribeye? 2.5.
If you're not at 1 3/4 inches minimum, you're doing something wrong.
No, I'd agree. And we're talking reverse sear, right? Sous
Oh,
vide and not
obviously,
sous
sous vide and then reverse seared.
Really?
vide.
Cast
Yeah.
iron, man. Cast iron.
I'm that bad boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's
Ready,
going to
man.
pair that with a red IPA, which I think is a great shout.
What a shit.
Any thoughts on the red IPA?
I mean, I would go for one with probably Citroen Cascade.
Yeah, nice choice. Nice choice. So
Yeah,
that's gonna play nicely off the chimichurri.
Absolutely. That vinegar's really going to get cut through by the citrus character of the beer.
Was it rye? I'd have some rye in it.
And I would have no rye anywhere near it. I wouldn't even have rye in the
fishing.
same fucking time zone.
Andy, you're fishing for sure. Right, Andy, dessert.
The dessert, he's went, do you know what? He's went absolute epic. He's went for a banoffee pie, and then he's went with Andex Hefe. Like, absolute
Big
wit.
guns.
What a combo!
It's dirty. It's
Banana
dirty,
and banana.
but we'd all love it.
Do you know what? That just unreal. There.
I reckon what might work nicely on the banoffee pie is like a nice butterscotch pecan sauce.
Ooh,
Oh right.
pistachio.
Too much?
Maybe
Maybe
Pistachio.
It's
It's a little bit less in your face than pecan.
Yeah. That could work nicely. What,
Right.
A little bit chantilly cream on the side.
Oh, it's got to be chantilly with a shaving of lime zest.
Is anyone else absolutely starving?
It's filth. It's
I'm
filth.
definitely looking for snacks.
Oh no way!
Go on, Andy. Give us yours.
Sorry for everyone on their January diets listening to this. Starter, right? So I've went Cullen skink, right? Because
You're gonna have to explain what Cullen skink is.
It's like a smoked haddock sort of soupy, stewy thing with potatoes and stuff in it. It's really thick.
It's like a
soup.
chowder, isn't it? For our
Chowder.
American listeners, it's a chowder.
It's smoky and fish. It is like, yeah, it is amazing. Scottish. And then I've paired that with a petite farmhouse beer by Burning Sky. So that's sort of like total saison farmhouse.
The dirty, dry saison.
Yeah, but with that fish thing, man. Oh, what a combo!
Probably
And
cut through that kind of creaminess a little bit. Cut through that.
Yeah,
thickness.
yeah, exactly. I've done it before, and it's so good. We've got there's a fish restaurant down the road, and I took a whole load of saisons with me, and it was just like the best pairing.
Fish and saison is a good choice.
Very. And then next I went main is a chicken Caesar salad with a New Zealand Pils by Burning Sky again. So there's a Burning Sky sort of ongoing. And then to finish dessert, I also went the same as Owen with the sticky toffee pudding, but I would go for an Emperor's Impy. So none of your thin shit, just thick as can be.
You want the beer to be as thick as the pudding, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And bonus points would go to if it was coffee biased on the Impy.
Oh,
and then
dirty.
vanilla, but then I'd have vanilla ice cream. So it was almost like, and what's the where you have vanilla ice cream and you put a coffee shot on it?
Affogato.
Affogato. Oh,
Why can you not just go with a good creme anglaise?
what about even just like like that sort of
Chantilly cream.
Affogato, and then but instead of coffee, just using an Impy.
Why would you not go with a chantilly cream with a shot of espresso in it?
That would be
kebab.
that
Right
was.
Seriously, I need a 12-inch stuffed crust more than anything right now. I really do. So, if you guys agree with our recipes, we don't care. If you don't agree with our recipe, with our choices, again, we don't care. Because this is our choice, and every single thing that we've put out there, I guarantee you, if you got that on a 3-course tasting menu somewhere that was paired with those beers, you would be happy. There's not one single one of those that's a bad choice. I'm just lucky that I got in early with the chicken wings because everybody else wanted chicken wings.
Initially I was thinking chicken wings. Was like first like chicken wings, and then you'd taken it, and I was like, when I go to the restaurant,
Cullen skink's great though, man. Cullen skink is legit. It's good.
I love a bit of that.
You know, there's so many choices that you can have, and not one of us used a barbecue.
No, because if it was barbecue, it would literally all be barbecue food.
It would literally be barbecue. It would be barbecue chicken wings, followed by barbecue beef pork ribs, followed by barbecued banana for dessert. But yeah, Jill, I love you, mon ami. That is just amazing. It's a great question. Great question.
Cheers.
Now, we have exactly 37 minutes to do 2 questions. So, Owen, do it.
Do it now. Well, we've got 2 more questions as Chris called out. The first is coming straight up from Teddy G. Another question from Teddy G. Big shout out. Hops. How do you go about building hop combos for recipes? I know there's a tried and tested like Citra Mosaic, but is it just trial and error or more tactical? How do you look to blend particular flavor descriptors whilst avoiding others that are certain flavors that are likely to clash and therefore you would want to avoid? Any thoughts, Andy?
Yeah, I would go something big, like a good base. So I would be thinking, like, obviously Citra if it was a pale. And then it's building off that, so scaffolding off. So anything that's got high notes, I would be thinking. So something like Nelson's a good one, or what else? There's I don't know, Denali. Let's say Sultana or something's like really weird. I would just be looking, or Motueka. It's got great high notes. Obviously, all the New Zealand stuff, but it's just try to tag in stuff that's where you've got a good base, like Mosaic, and then something on. Or I think the answer to this one, I think it goes into a lot about New World versus even what we were talking about with Moot, was using something like Bramlin Cross or something, or even Fuggles maybe, just something to bring a little bit of UK and US or New World in together, so you kind of, yeah.
Or almost, or even to the extent of noble hops as well. But I love the concept you've just expanded on there, Andy, in terms of, and let me paraphrase, was very much about thinking about the predominant flavor, the almost the foundation, the power hop that you're thinking about. And then it's about how do I take that and accentuate it with something else in the direction that I want to take it to.
Yeah, because I wouldn't go 100 grams, 100 grams, 100 grams anymore. But maybe I would have done a third split between 3 different hops. I would now look at a major hop and then
like a 60%.
Yeah.
20-20.
Yeah.
I've been working on 65-35 recently.
Yeah.
Or 65-20-15.
Yeah.
And like you say, that one of the things the hops mentioned in our notes is Idaho 7, which is like a crazy powerful hop. And that's one that I would tag into that 35 type hop, where it's just going to bring so much. If you put that as the main hop, wow, it is dominating.
Yeah.
Whereas it's
but maybe drop that down to 40% and do 30 and 30 to go alongside it. That's kind of where I've been moving to recently, is avoiding the. I know that I drink beers with it in, but not a huge fan of Citra on its own. So Citra at 40% with Idaho 7 and maybe Cashmere, or maybe Motueka and Mosaic.
Because we did the Citra Pils, and the Citra Pils was like, it was
one-dimensional.
It's one-dimensional.
I'd challenge you to drink this Omnipoly Tipper and tell me you don't like Citra, because that was next level,
what
right? But
yeah.
I do agree. But I think there is an underlying assumption here that we need to just put out there and ensure people understand, is that you need a fundamental understanding of different hops.
Yeah, you do.
You have to understand about which hops are going to be likely players to be that power hop, which hops are likely players to be in that next structure, and what are they going to bring. So whilst if you're a newer brewer and you don't know the difference between Citra and Simcoe, or Mosaic and Idaho 7, and you haven't personally built a palette to be able to do that, there are some great apps and websites and things like that at least could guide you.
I don't know, smash. I think at that point in your brewing career, it's about smash beers then, or a 2 hop beer, and then maybe switching where you do, like, if you're doing a 2 hop beer, then at least the next brew you do one of the similar hops and then a different hop, and then you go, oh, that was what was getting from that. So then you know, well, that must have been the Simcoe or something that was bringing that flavour.
Yeah,
Is what I found over the thing of
and I think once you get into, if you get past smash, which I definitely agree, Andy, 100% hit the nail on the head. That's the way to build your understanding of how hops present
if you
themselves
do
in beer.
yeah,
You need to do a lot of that. I overlooked that. Took me a long time to catch up.
yeah, but
Wish
you
I'd
start
done
doing
more
smash,
of that. But I do think if you're starting out in hop blending, is probably don't go with the let's try and blend UK with US, and
That's not
New
wise
Zealand
at the
and
start.
US, and you know, because until you've understood what New Zealand hops generally bring you and what Australian hops generally bring you and what US hops generally bring you and what UK, I'm not sure you're in a position to make an educated decision about what does work and what doesn't work. Whereas I think you can go, broadly speaking, if you pair 2 US hops together,
you're
they're
saying
generally going to work, right?
Yeah.
As a rule, if you take 2 New Zealand hops, they're
you're
generally
safe,
going to work together.
of course.
So I think that's always like a next step beyond the single hop thing, is next into blending 2 hops. Think about geographic location. When you get into them blending 3 hops, you probably need a better understanding of what hops bring you. If you start blending across different territories, you really do need to know what you're talking about. So I think that's probably my advice. If I was speaking to someone that was not as experienced, if we were talking to someone that was experienced, what might be the advice?
I would look at the predominant flavour web. Brett's already said this, right? He says he looks at the flavour web for the beer style. I tend to look at the flavour web for the hop. Okay? Now, one of the things that I will say is I have brewed with Motueka and Cascade, and it's worked really well. They seem to complement each other very well, according to my palate. But one thing that I will say is, if you are willing to jump into, as we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast, using a noble as a scaffold, building from that noble up through flavours to give you more of a top end and mid-range note, you will make mistakes.
Yeah.
You will make mistakes. You will have beers that you'll go, fuck me, this is a bit weird.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
drink it or you'll toss it or what. But...
Exactly. But you will still find those strange combinations. Like, one of my personal favourites is using Pearl as a bittering hop for Cascade and Idaho 7. I don't know why it works. All I can tell you is that it works.
Pearl's a great bittering hop. Great.
It's a fucking fantastic bittering hop.
I got a shitload of Pearl for free from when a brewery closed, and it's Leaf, and it is dynamite.
Don't be scared with Pearl or with any of the nobles to throw some in at 30 minutes, even 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Depending on how heavy your Whirlpool and your flame out hops are. Don't be scared to work from that noble base to use some of the bigger New World or American hops after it. They work really well.
Yeah.
A lot of this is trial and error on my part. I've fucked up so you don't have to.
Yeah.
But please, just right. The wonderful thing about brewing is it's your beer.
Yeah.
Compared to anything else, it's your beer. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to screw up. Those screw-ups give you more experience. They give you more information. They give you more of everything than producing a perfect beer every time. Okay? You learn more from failure than you do from success. And it's a fact. Right? But don't be scared to try it, because you will unleash some absolutely dynamite flavors. And it might be that you put a hop in at 20 minutes. It might be that you put in a hop at, flame out. It might be that the bittering hop that you used with the hop at 20 minutes gave you so much more scaffold for your flame out Whirlpool hops. Don't be scared to try it. Hops are the aroma. They are the flavor of the beers as a general rule to what we make. And you have to be able to experiment with them, because if you don't, you're a midfielder as opposed to a striker on a football pitch. Simple as that. You've got to be able to push the boat out and really do it. Look at your survivables. Look at your temperatures for your whirlpools.
Was it Yakima? Was it Yakima Chief that had the survival chart? Robbie. But there's a survivals chart, and it's like there's some great hops that you can put in the hot side.
But ignore the hops. The amount of information that you get from that survivables chart is ridiculous.
But it shows you all the different flavour compounds as well from it.
It does, so but that's all information to put into your hard drive up here the next time you're planning a beer.
See, sometimes some of the best beers is they just ignore all that and they just
absolutely
come up with something totally different, and then blows all
Tetnang, Andy.
Tetnang, like Matt.
No. Wait up. Tetnang with Mosaic. Sounds like it won't work, but Jesus Christ, does it work?
You done that?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Golden Promise base, Carapils, little bit of wheat, Tetnang at 60 minutes, Tetnang at 30 minutes, Mosaic at flame out, Mosaic dry hop.
Jeez.
Don't discount those. Crazy shit.
That's like, I'm like, nope.
No, trust me, try it. You know the floral flavour and that touch of spice that you get from Tetnang? Add that to the fruity tropical notes of Mosaic. It works every time.
It's like Fuggles. Sometimes like Fuggles.
Fuggles at 30 minutes?
No, but yeah, exactly. Something like Fuggles. Just a little bit of Fuggles. And then some
20 grams at 30 minutes.
A picture mosaic type thing with it, either or both, in a mix. And it's like you're getting loads of that sort of new world, American sort of hop thing, but then you're just getting a slightly, funky,
the tree in the background.
Yeah, that works.
It works, right? Don't discount some of the weird hop combinations because they work. It's as simple as that. Right. We're 2:36 into this. Let's get on to the final question because we've still got to do what's coming up.
Good thing.
Okay? It's a good job Tricky ain't here, to be fair, yeah. So, question from Santa. Okay, we all know who Santa is. The boy's he's had a rough end of December as Santa. He's chilling out, he's having a margarita, he's on a beach in Cancun. So,
I think he's got a margarita.
Yeah, of course he's got
margarita.
He's got a margarita. He's on a beach in Cancun, man.
No, he's on. He'll be on the flipping. What's the hand pull beer that you do, Chris?
Persistently bitter.
He'll be on a persistently bitter.
He probably is, to be fair. Yeah. So, he says a topic worth looking at would be keg carbonation, the science behind and a good method, and also the best way to deal with over-carbonation. So, keg carbonation we've covered. Science behind it we've kind of covered.
Yeah.
Over-carbonation.
We don't cover.
40 psi for 30 hours at 5 degrees. Set the desired serving pressure and leave for 4 days. Vent it before you set your serving pressure. That used to be my go-to. It's not anymore. Somebody else has typed in there, set and forget and be patient. That's probably Andy.
And me.
Or Owen or Tricky. Right, you can do that. That's wonderful. There are charts for pressure versus temperature.
Yes.
The higher the temperature, the higher the pressure required.
Yes.
CO2 dissolves into low temperature liquids. You might think, I serve at 8 degrees, what difference is that going to make? What's 3 degrees? It's a fucking lot.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah. PV equals nRT, boys. That's all I'll say. So, when you're spunding lagers in the fermenter, The slow crash, Andy wrote this, I know he did, right? Most stainless fermenters will be recommended up to 15 psi, which means your carbonation is going to be slower. Now, over-carbonation is something I've had to deal with on regular occasions.
Because you keep fucking forgetting me.
Because I keep fucking forgetting. So,
set an alarm on your phone.
That's the one. But the reality is you're going to overcarb a beer at some point. Okay? Calm down.
Unless you
don't worry about it. Vent it back to basically room temperature. Leave it for 1 hour. Kick it. Vent it after an hour. Leave it. Kick it. Right? Vent it again. Set it at your desired serving pressure. Leave it alone. 3 days minimum. 7 if you can. Vent it every 24 hours.
Jeez.
Okay? And after 5 to 7 days, you will have a beer at the perfect serving pressure, and it'll be fine. Yes, you can, Doorstep Brewing. You can kick it. Right? The reason why you kick it is because it causes a shock, which releases CO2, and it goes into the headspace. Vent it, move on. Right? Yes, you can. You can kick it. So that's how I dealt with overcarbonation. The bottom line is, if you overcarb it, you've got to get it back down. You've got to get that CO2 out. Do not set your pressure above 12 psi if you are venting. 12 psi, unless it's an Imp Stout, in which case you're kind of fucked. But if it's anything else, 12 psi, leave it alone. Kick it, vent it, leave it for an hour. Kick
What's
it, vent it.
The lesson from this pod is set and forget. Stop rushing your beers, man.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Don't rush it, man.
I've actually got to go and listen to that song now. Thank you, you twat. I'm not sure who Doorstep Brewing is. I think it's Lance, but I've got to go and...
It's Lance.
Yeah, I need to go and listen to that song.
I don't know who Doorstep is.
Right. Well, I think we are 2 hours 41 minutes. Finished the questions. We want to talk about a little
what
bit
we got.
about what have we got going on
in the bag.
coming up, and then I think it's going to be a wrap up, and we'll close the pod.
Yeah, let's do that.
So we're going to talk about what the podcasts that we got planned, podcasts that are coming up, dates for the diary.
There's a whole load, isn't there?
There's a load so far. Yeah, we've got quite a few signed up.
We're actually gonna the theme I think coming ahead is now new commercial brewers or brewers that are kind of dipping their toes in commercial in this new year. So I don't know, are we mentioning names?
We're going to mention a few names. So
Okay.
on the 25th of January, we have a gentleman by the name of Dave Goddard.
He's in the chat.
He's often trapped under ice for some reason. We're going to have Dave on. One little thing that we're going to have coming up over the next sort of year is we're going to have a few home brewers who we've had their beers, we've drunk their beers. In Dave's case, I have been very close with a few of his beers to that magical release. His Imp Stout was fucking amazing. His OT cream Nipa.
I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that for the pod.
You need to drink that in the after party.
No, I'm gonna have.
He'll send us more, dude. I've already spoken to him. He's gonna send us more. So his beers are epic. They are beyond epic. His Imp Stout was one of the de facto examples of Imp Stout. Right? Yeah. It was great beers. Okay, so Dave's joining us for the next podcast on the 25th of July.
Yeah.
All right? Then we have a week off.
Yeah.
Then we have a wonderful Scouser by the name of Liam Hughes from Sunbear Brewing, a fairly new brewer with a small brewery who we've been talking to since BrewCon, right?
I'm good. Good friends,
He's a top bloke. He's coming on a podcast. He's gonna talk to us about setting up breweries and how it's been.
Johnny, and selling all that sort of thing. Hopefully.
Yeah, which I think is absolutely amazing. And then we've got a week off because it's Valentine's. All right, and I have to take my wife out. All right. And then on the 22nd of February, we have a gentleman by the name of Danny Ennis. You may know him. Small Batch Brewing.
Yep.
Danny's coming on. He's going to talk to us about it. The step from homebrew right the way through to commercial. Plus, he's a top dude, so we've got Danny coming on.
Danny's good.
And then we don't have a week off. Yeah. Because instantaneously, the week after, bish, bosh, slap, 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 we have Phil from Simple Things Fermentation coming on.
Yep. He's now been established, I think, for a couple of years now. And he was very much kind of the bottle fermentation type dude. Who's the brewery down in London that does all the bottle fermentation? Oh, and you'll know the one with the plain label, the brown label.
Vault City. Colonel.
He was a big Colonel fan. So and Phil started off doing all sorts of weird and wonderful styles that no one else was doing. Like, I don't know, he was doing like kind of Scottish shilling beers or whatever, but with a twist sort of thing. So he's in Glasgow. I think he's in the south side of Glasgow. I've been to his brewery, and so Phil's going to come on and chat about his journey. So that'll be cool.
That will be very, very cool.
That's kind of where we're at the minute.
No, it's not. It's not at all. It's not at all, Andy, because things have changed. Things have changed, man. I agree. We had an understanding 3 hours ago, but things have now changed, man. Like, things are completely different to what they were 3 hours ago.
Well, got to fill in the 2025 dates and start reading it.
All right, so we have a gentleman by the name of Ron Muir.
Oh, Ron. When's Ron?
Who sent us a crazy Imp Stout that he brews as part of a collective. Okay? Ron, we love you. Your whiskey drinking ability is second to none. But what I will say is, I'm aiming to have Ron on either on the 29th of March or the 15th of March.
Right, okay, so you've not nailed that. Right, okay.
I'm going to talk to the man. I presume he's in the chat. We can talk to Ron. Ron's cool.
Is Ron been on tonight?
And then, I can't give you too many details about this one, boys. But all I got to say is,
there's a pure mega.
Do not fucking miss the 26th of April.
Yeah, that's the project.
Secret sauce.
Do not miss the 26th of April. Ron, tell us now, can you do the 15th or the 29th? Which one are you doing?
Yeah.
Say the 29th, Ron. Please say the 29th so I can still take my missus out for dinner. 29th, Ron. Come on, man. Do the 29th. Anyway,
witness,
so I often lead witnesses.
Guest live
so the 26th of April is a podcast that you do not want to miss.
That's going to be a banger. Absolutely.
You can't do the 15th. Oh, fuck it, whatever. We'll do the 15th. Right, Ron, I'm writing your name in on the 15th. It's in. You're done. You're booked. You're booked, mate. 15th of March. You're booked. So that's what we've got coming up for the first few months. We've got breweries, we've got people, we've got awesomeness. That's what we've got. But please do not miss. We can't give you too many details away, but do not miss the 26th of April. For the love of God, do not miss that one.
Can I just say, though, I have really enjoyed just having a podcast.
Without Tricky?
Without Tricky was the point I was going to make. Yeah. No, the point I was going to make, it was just nice to have it.
The three amigos.
The three or four of us, even if Tricky was here, we would have been a lot of fun without a guest. It's been a while since we've actually had a podcast without a guest.
It is. It definitely is.
The problem is we're running on for 3 hours because
we talk shit.
We're full of shit. But it's been from my standpoint, maybe not the listeners or the viewers. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. It has been a lot of fun, man. It really has. Yeah. I'm gonna have to. The weird thing, right? So I have to turn my balls heater back on once it goes past 11 o'clock because it shuts off automatically.
Just in case you forget.
So I'm going to... Yeah, I can't have a 2 kilowatt oil radiator powering off in the shed when I'm in bed, mate.
Brett, please don't spoil the surprise for the 26th of April. Okay? There's no need to speculate that it might be David Heath. All right?
I don't know how you dare, Brett. Don't know how you dare.
How good would that be?
It's not going to happen, is it? Let's face it.
Oh, well.
So, yeah, we've nailed down a guest live on the podcast. Guys, can I just say, episode 107's in the bag.
It is in the bag, baby.
It's in the bag, boys. We're going to have a very quick after party where we have a beer with you boys. But aside from that, Owen, just go ahead, do the outro. Let's go.
Goodbye, my friends. Goodbye, my friends.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for covering for me there. That was a great outro. So listen, for anyone that's in the live chat right now or covering along with us live, Chris is going to post a chat to the after party, which I think as I speak is going in the chat. So come join us for a beer, as Chris said. It'd be good to see you. Otherwise, I think it's just a opportunity to say thank you to all of our listeners. We love you all, and a big thank you to our sponsor, our partner sponsor, Malt Miller, and our Patreons who really do help to keep the podcast going and means that we can keep doing fun and interesting things. So, guys, I think it's time to sign off.
Can I just jump on that little point that you've just made there? Okay, 1 second. I just need to mute that. One of the things that I want to say right here, right now, is I want to say huge thanks to the Malt Miller, but specifically to Reiki and to Stiffo, because they're the guys that we have the most contact with. Okay, and Reiki's an absolute legend. Reiki understands the power of the home brewer. And I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to leave it right there. Okay? Reiki is an absolute legend. He may be bald. He may wear a hat all the time. Right? But bottom line is I absolutely adore Martin Rake. He's a superb gentleman. He's a legend. And I owe him a hug. That's all I've got to say.
This may be related to...
What a way to close the podcast.
Might have something to do with April the 26th.
Beautiful.
Cool.
Well, I'm going to say a good night.
Thanks for all the questions. All the questions for our
Thank
Patreon.
you for the questions. Absolutely.
Yeah. Good
You're
fun.
all legends. You're all legends.
I've almost finished this Impy, by the way.
They're always, you always get to that last bit and you're like...
Oh, it's such a great
my
bit.
tip is long gone. Long gone.
But it's only 9%.
I'm back on the medicine.
Can't fault you, to be fair.
Right, say
boys,
goodbye, guys.
get over to the Google Meet. We'll catch you all soon. Bye, con Dios. Love you all. Bye-bye. Didn't miss Tricky at all with this one, did we? Bye.
Snubbed.